What's up, people? Welcome to a brand new episode of Wrestle Update. I'm your host, Dylan Fox. I hope everybody is having a wonderful time in their new year, 2025. New time in their lives, new happiness in their lives. Most importantly, good food. That is what we need most, good food in video games. And I have both of those right now. And joining me to enjoy both of these things, as well as some pro wrestling. My co-host, my beloved co-host, Nello de Angelis. How are you doing, man? It's really good to talk to you.
It's good to talk to you as well. I'm doing well. I actually got a week off from work, so I've been hiking a lot.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, so you like hiking, huh? You're like a nature respector.
Just recently converted, like literally last week, and I've been the past 6 days. So I'm just gonna keep going because it makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I'm a fan of walking. Like sometimes in the middle of the woods, sometimes down the road to Taco Bell. Either way, you never know where my adventures could take me when it comes to walking around. I will say I was more into that when I was a little bit younger. To be fair, there was a lot more stuff to do. There's a lot more places to walk back then. Now everything is so industrialized. But not you. You have a nature haven that you're into right now, and you said it makes you feel better.
Makes me feel better. Yeah.
I'm very glad to hear that. It seems like you're doing good things right now. You got some time. You got some time off. You got your mind right. You're doing good things. I like that. Look, listen to these positive vibes Wrestle Update is bringing you right now on these shows right now. We're encouraging you to get out and walk, get out to the sun, or even the moon. What if you were a night walker? I just will go out to the woods randomly in the middle of the night. Have you ever done that before?
No, I haven't, but I'm intrigued now.
What if you found Bigfoot?
In Arizona, that would be pretty fucking crazy.
Is Bigfoot a night guy?
Is Bigfoot a night guy? I just saw Bigfoot in Circle 6, actually, and he did fight at night, so I would assume so.
That's definitely a Bigfoot. We definitely know he's real, at least. What about Mothman? What if you saw him in Arizona as well? All of these by default would be Arizona, provided you did not cross these straight lines.
Isn't Mothman like Tennessee, Virginia?
West Virginia.
No. West Virginia.
Not Tennessee.
Okay.
Or West Virginia, yes.
Have you ever seen that shirt where it's like, I sucked the Mothman's dick or something like that?
I don't own that one, so sorry.
So, well, it's like a very popular internet shirt. So I wrote like a skit where it's like the shop that sells those in West Virginia, and the actual Mothman like barges in. He's like, "You got to shut this place down, man. My wife is furious. All these people are walking around with shirts, and it's not true."
Mothman's got to defend his legacy. Okay, he is not going to put up with these rumors that these West Virginians are putting upon him right now.
This is maybe the best start to any show we've ever had.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know. Obviously, all of this stuff is goofy that we're talking about, but there's a lot of interesting myths out there, and cryptids and stuff like that. They even call it cryptozoology. You could study this. You could study Mothman and Bigfoot if you want. You didn't go to school for that, though.
I did not. I didn't know that was an option. That's cool.
Yeah, see, like I said, think of all the things. Think of all that we could do if we had cryptozoology degrees with us. I think the most cryptid thing Tennessee has is like occasionally, and I guess maybe it's just personal briefings because I live like close to a lot of the Latin American community, but we will talk about chupacabra sometimes. Like chupacabra could find his way up here, which is a Puerto Rican thing. And if anybody knows me, my ex-fiance was Puerto Rican, so we also had many conversations about this subject. And chupacabra, everyone thinks of it as this monster, but in reality, in Spanish, that literally means like goat blood sucker, like pretty much. Like that's it. It's not nearly as cool if you know Spanish as it sounds if you say it on there. But if you believe in Bigfoot, Chupacabra, or Mothman, or any other cryptids, if you have a degree in cryptozoology, you are free to do that, and we would like to know more information about that. But right now, we are talking about what we can see in front of our eyes, hear with our ears, and not always able to comprehend with our minds, but we will attempt to for the purposes of Wrestle Update right now. So, the big news right now in all of pro wrestling. The streaming era has kicked off, and we are here to cover it. And with all the major stories, the AEW, the WWE, the ICW No Holds Barred, we will do all of that. Yes, we are going to talk about ICW. I watched the show, so we are going to talk about it. But first, I think we should go right away. New Year's Day, AEW Dynamite. This is their first ever show on Max, streaming on Max, formerly HBO Max. Did you have this before? Like before this Dynamite, did you have HBO Max?
Yes. So Netflix and Max, I just use my family's, thankfully. Very easy.
Good. Finally. Listen, that's why your family comes through in the clutch, Nello.
Exactly.
I'm the one who has all the streaming services that my family uses on there.
No.
So it's the opposite. Well, to be fair, I basically conned my way into. Well, I didn't con. I just was very selective in my deals. But basically, Max, I got a deal on where I ended up paying for like a year straight, and I got it for like $60. So nice. I dropped it $60 right away. I paid for it for a year. Netflix, when I bought my PS5, it was a part of a promotion to have. I got a year worth of Netflix free, pretty much, with my awesome. PlayStation 5. So I did it in a very cheesy way that I've got these, but I do have them. So do you would you say you're a regular watcher of any of these streaming services, either Max or Netflix?
No, like, I mean, actually, so I don't really use any streaming services.
Yeah.
I use Plex, so I kind of just get my own stuff.
Yeah.
Wrestling, movies, whatever. But I actually do use Max. I would say Max is probably the only one that I have historically used, mostly for HBO shows. But
what's your recommendation for Max
Leftovers?
Shows? The Leftovers?
Oh yeah, The Leftovers is the most beautiful, incredible show ever made. I cry every episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea it touched you that much, but I love that. I'm just not a big TV person in general these days. Like the things that I like, the first thing I looked up was to see if they had like Ed and Eddie on there and Powerpuff Girls and Johnny Bravo and stuff that I watched when I was a kid. Like that was my big draw from Max, which they don't have everything that I thought they would. To be fair, I know that there are a lot of huge shows on there. I know they've got Bleacher Report Sports as a part of it as well, which is obviously this AEW is a part of. And you get some stuff on there that's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of their documentaries and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. So like I'm into that stuff. In terms of shows, like I know that there are a lot. HBO is one of the most popular channels, of course. That's a show that like my Mama, she loves it. Like she loves all that stuff. She will watch Game of Thrones every day, like pretty much now that the streaming service is on. But for me, this show AEW is a true draw, a legit draw for Max, ultimately. And the first show they brought us with was from the Harrah's Cherokee Center in Asheville, North Carolina. Fight for the Fallen. Here, this show, which is a wonderful cause, a charity show here. But right away, we had kind of talked about our misgivings with certain parts of AEW coming off of World's End and all of that stuff. But still, what was kind of when you tuned it in? Did you have any problems or anything like that with the stream? For the AEW for HBO Max at least.
No, I mean I'll say right now for both Netflix and Max were smooth as butter. I had no issues. Yeah. The thing that really bothered me with Max is like I have the ad-free version, but there's ads still. So like I literally have it pulled up to where it says ad free, and then it's like while I'm watching an ad, and apparently the international markets don't get the ads. It's just so fucking annoying. Like again, like literally, what is the purpose of an ad free tier that I pay for if I get literal ads? Like make it make sense.
And especially the WWE guy on Netflix, like where he was like, well, if you're in Texas, you'll get an ad, but if you're in Italy, you won't get an ad. It's like, why are you saying that publicly like that? But they don't care about us, Nello. Like, we're Americans, and they just do not want to cater to us anymore, apparently. And not only not cater, in fact, give us less things than the international audience for some reason.
I just like, for me, it's like it's a shitty thing just in practice, and it's so annoying that there is no option for an ad-free version for either of these. Because for me, like, I'm someone who would rather watch the wrestling during the commercials.
Yeah, me too.
Right? Yeah. So like I would love the opportunity, and it's I don't know.
I agree with that completely, to be honest with you. If it was up to me, I would rather watch the in between stuff. Sometimes you get, and plus, especially with AEW, when they're on commercial, it's very obvious because of the way the commentators act during it. Like, they're going to be starting goofing around and say crazy stuff and weirdo stuff during commercials.
Yes.
So from there, we've got the thing that I think we all were expected. We all wanted to know, what will the theme music for this show be in this new era? And what did we get? But I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. By the Pointed Sisters. This is like a 50-year-old song, though. What the fuck was this?
I didn't notice this until I saw it posted on Reddit later, and I was like, there was a new song. I just didn't process it, I guess. Maybe I tuned in like right after it aired. It made no imprint on me whatsoever until after the fact, and I saw it again. Not like the most, like, not a bad song by any means, but not exciting, I would say.
It's a song known even 45 years later. I will give them credit for that. It's no disrespect to the Pointer Sisters at all. I would never want to insult them. It's just, for a wrestling show in 2025. How did we get here? I've said it before. I think this is kind of a big problem in general with AEW. Like, you look at Raw, they've got Travis Scott on the show. In AEW, we've got the Pointer Sisters, and almost all of their celebrity interactions. And we're gonna have Elton John again for Collision, and there's nothing wrong with Elton John. Like, obviously a legendary song and artist and all that stuff. It's for the context of the show. Like, and I think this is a big problem. Whenever they bring in people, it's like Rick Ross, Trina, these people that I thought were cool when I was a kid, like, that they're bringing in now. They're not bringing in the top flight people. Like, in terms of celebrities, they're bringing in guys who were cool like 20 years ago, and in this case 40 years ago. And I mentioned it with the Tony Storm angle. It's like, All About Eve is a wonderful movie that's 80 years old. Like, and I just don't know if that's really grabbing your modern audience. Like, nothing they do really appeals to the modern audience. And this was like a major red flag when this song started playing. At first, I thought it was like a mistake or something like that. Like, somebody hit the wrong button. This reminds me when I wrestled. I once had a rib played on me. Nello, we'll see what you think of this. So I mentioned it before. I had various theme songs, but my main one was AFI, like Leaving Song Part 2. So that obviously fit my emo-ish light dark character that I had. One time, some of the guys were ribbing me, and they cut my music early, like as soon as I walked out, and switched it to I'll Do Anything for Love by Meatloaf, which is not a pro wrestling theme song. And a wonderful song. Like, again, a great song. I love that song. not as a wrestling entrance music though, and I was totally ribbed by this. I thought that's what this was. Someone ribbed AEW by playing this song here. But I saw it and I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was like, what? And who would you follow that with? With the cutting edge Pointer Sisters. They had to come out with the cutting edge Death Riders. And John Moxley's going on about, like, he's cutting this lame promo where he's talking about, he defended the title at World's End. Nobody deserves it. And I'd rather have the title destroyed than let anyone else have it. And the Death Riders are just built different. We'd have more Death Riders later. That was a big portion of the show here. And I think we know, if any of our listeners right now, I think we know our opinions on this. Nello, do you have any thoughts?
No.
No. Yeah, did you like Tomko right now?
No, not especially. It has been a week, if I'm not mistaken. This was right after World's End, right? This was the first Dynamite.
Yeah, it was like literally 2 days later.
Okay, so this is the episode where Okada shows up 54 minutes in, and then they finally say annoying. That Kenny came back. Yeah, Okada should have opened the show 100%. You didn't let him close the show on the pay-per-view. Let him at least open Dynamite. You don't need a Death Riders promo to open this shit. Like, they're in the main event. You can put him wherever to start building this thing. I thought, a total miss.
I said it. We talked about it after World's End. Like, one thing they messed up on, if it were me and I was Tony Khan, I would have put out right away. Like, I mean, they waited for, the next week to do this. But if it was up to me, I would say, Kenny Omega starting the show off. Like that, he would be the first person HBO Max sees in our stream, and Max is going to be Kenny Omega, and we'll see what he's got to say. But instead, they said, no, we have to have the Death Riders start us off. The promo wasn't anything positive or negative, really. Instead, we jump to the Hangman. He takes on Orange Cassidy here. And I guess this is another thing. I think if I would have changed this. Again, we're thinking about this being this big show. Like, new edition on Max. And they clearly approached it that way. Both AEW and Raw did this, where it felt like there was a clear effort, in my opinion, to, like, give a lot of recaps of stuff. Like, play video packages and stuff to kind of, like, if you're a new viewer, here's what's going on, which I think was kind of a miss. Like, I think the show with Raw and AEW, a big mistake they made was they didn't let the show speak for itself, kind of. Like, there was so much, like, hype and all that stuff, hype videos and recaps, that the show itself felt kind of stunted. And I think this was their bone to throw to us. Hangman Page versus Orange Cassidy. They're like, okay, this is going to be your one big match that you get. Because I think they should have had a major match right out the gate. Like, a work rate classic type of match. Will Ospreay versus anybody. Like, do one of his matches to start off. But instead, they gave us this. How did you think what did you think of this idea? I mean, it was a good, decent match, I thought. But what did you think?
So the match it made me think of is Sammy versus Cody, the first ever Dynamite match. Yeah. This one feels like it's way more of an AEW match than that one was back then. Like, these are two of your biggest AEW guys, right?
Yeah.
I thought the match was fine. It was good between them. But, I didn't think that they brought it to the level that they needed to. I don't think that they were given the time that they needed to bring it to that level. I think that it was missing another 5-6 minutes if you really wanted that great third act to really elevate it. AEW is, quote unquote, we're the best wrestle. And the biggest thing missing on this show was good to great wrestling.
I know. That's what I'm saying. To me, they should have went out of their way and be like, look, we're going to have a 5-star. I would have 2 matches booked in my mind for the show if I were booking it. Like, first of all, we're going to have the 5-star match. Like I said, Will Ospreay versus somebody. It's going to be this epic AEW match. And then I would have a second match that was completely bloody. Like something that Netflix cannot, like Raw is not going to do on Netflix. And we know they didn't care about having 5-star matches on that show, ultimately. So have a crazy match, like high spot, excitement, the crowd's going crazy. Like, remember that Private Party and Young Bucks match on Dynamite? Like, something akin to that, where the crowd's going crazy, the fans love it, and it's something special. And then I would have a bloody brawl with somebody, which ideally your world champion would be perfect for, except they don't even let him show the title on here, and his stupid storyline waste all of our time. So we could not do that. But yeah, the match is good. What do you think about Hangman feuding with Christopher Daniels?
Weak. Anytime I see Christopher Daniels, I just want him off the TV. It's like there's no demographic to connect with for this.
No one is appeased by this.
No. And it's no disrespect to Christopher Daniels, but like he has been made to be such a nothing, weak character that like it has such little meaning.
I like that at least they followed up on where they were, because remember, one of the closing angles before World End was Daniel saying he's going to be in Hangman's corner, which did not happen at all in the match. So at least this kind of gives some credibility to that. They didn't just pretend that didn't happen. But the problem is it's Daniels, and like you said, his character is so lame that
it's one of those things where I think by being associated with Daniels, it pulls Paige down.
This is another issue. It's like, why don't they book their guys like better? Like, he should be Hangman. Listen, go back and watch that match. With all due respect to Switchblade and OC, Hangman and Moxley was the one that got the crowd on their feet. Like, that's what people wanted to see. The fans still view Paige as a main eventer. And for some reason, they don't want to book him that way. That I just don't understand. So this was extremely weird. This whole Daniels and Hangman thing. We'll see where it goes. And I mean, I'm a fan of Daniels. Like, I liked him as a wrestler. I thought he was a good promo, good worker. Had some amazing tag matches with AJ Styles and TNA. I watched them. I know what Daniels is about. But it's just now, again, 2025 we're in. Like, when do we cut things loose and focus on new things? We got a promo from Switchblade Jay White where he's blaming Wheeler Yuta for everything because he was like, I had my match won. I'm the leader of the Bang Bang Gang, and you still jumped into the ring, and now you will breathe with the Switchblade next week. So he cut his promo. I did like how they built up this triple threat match as like a big deal. And I also like the next match where it was the Acclaimed versus the Hurt Syndicate, where just right away, like as soon as Shelton and Bobby Lashley walked out, it was like, all right, the Acclaimed are going to get their ass beat. It was like really good how they set this up. And they did this promo where Max Caster, he was like not rapping, he was holding his mouth like, I'm not going to say anything. And then they had an insert promo where he was all like, he was like, listen, and he was starting to go to something. And then Bowens was all like, enough of this crap, man. Like, we keep losing. What are you going to do? You say that you're the best alive, but you suck, actually. And Max is like, all right, you're right. Like, we got stuff to do. The thing he was waiting to. He was like, Bowens was like, did you hit me on purpose last week against Jericho? And Max was justifiably, in my opinion, saying, you waited all week to ask me this right in the middle of our promo? Which is a great point, to be fair. But they said they were on the same page. So they go out. Hurt Syndicate beats the shit out of them. It's awesome. And we need this. We need the Hurt Syndicate beating the hell out of people on this show. That's another thing that was a smart move here. What do you think of the Syndicate and also the Acclaimed probably breaking up? Because Bowens looked on very disappointed as Max Caster. They blew their tag spot, by the way, that they did as well, where he was supposed to blind tag Bowens, but he was on the wrong side of the apron, so he comically tried to like leap over the rope to tag him in.
Yep.
And then they just kind of like stopped. Bowens gave Shelton a kick or something, and then they redid the spot with him on the right side of the apron. It was really funny. The whole match was amusing to me. I had a lot of fun with this.
This was maybe, like, from my memory, the best angle in the show in terms of they actually got something right. You establish the Hurt Syndicate in the tag division. You have them absolutely destroy like fan favorite former like champions. Once fan favorite, I should say. And Dynamite is live as we talk right now. And they did have the Hurt Syndicate do an angle with Private Party. So I appreciate that they already followed up on this as well.
Yeah, as we're recording, they're doing a show literally in my hometown. I did not feel like going this week, so I do apologize to everybody for that. We could have had a live report. But instead of recording this show, so we get something out of it, at least. I wish I'd seen that.
Okay, if you want to hear what it was, Private Party was standing at one of those little bullshit VIP sections.
Oh God, I hate
Bobby Lashley went in there and did a shot while looking at Zay and cheersed him, and then he went out there and had a match with Mark Briscoe.
That sounds awesome. Lashley versus Mark Briscoe? Like, oh my God. I can't wait to watch it. Do everything you said.
Take away from this episode, but I appreciated that. What this segment made me think of was that the Hurt Syndicate need to go for the tag titles immediately, and the next week they position them in that place already. So
yeah,
good direction.
Like, do everything you said with Archer and Cage, except just do it with Hurt Syndicate instead, and also they have the titles for like the next year.
Yep.
Like, I'm so on board with this team. It's unbelievable. And we talked about it. That was a big problem coming out of World's End. The tag belts mean nothing at this point. They've completely fumbled Private Party. As much as I love their title win, there's no hope for this. Put this belts on the Hurt Syndicate. Let them destroy everybody, and then build a new team. Not FTR or the Bucks. It should be a totally new team that beats them, and they will get made from beating these two. They rule. And the Acclaim, like I said, a typical breakup angle. It's fine. I have no real thoughts on it, positive or negative, really. I think Bowens could be a good singles act, though. That would be kind of cool, considering where they go out of that. We get a promo from Swerve, another, hyping up the triple threat, and he's basically like, I need the title. That is another thing I liked about this show. We had all three people in the triple threat: Switchblade, Swerve, and Roderick, and also MJF, and a bunch of people were all like hyping up that they want the world title, which would be great if we had a champion that wasn't just such a lame duck, like asshole champion who sucks so much. But I like the idea of people wanting the title. They've made that very important, and I like that. Ultimately, that's very good. They've done a good job so far, 2 for 2 weeks, in terms of making the world title seem important, at least. So I do appreciate that. Julia Hart's return match, taking on Jamie Hayter. This got a lot of buzz on the internet, but not for the right reasons. Julia was pretty rough. Yeah, like we have to be honest about it, I think. And I mean, they gave her the win. Hopefully they'll rerun this with Jamie getting a thing back. Jamie's really lost a bit of aura, I have to say, since she's come back. Like, with how she's just been this background character, because she was gone for so long. I really thought her return would be like this epic thing, but it really hasn't been at all.
They've kept her in a program, if I'm not mistaken, since she's returned. She returned. She's in the Saraya program. Right after that, she does other things, but she's in this Julia Hart feud the entire time. The problem is Julia Hart has no physical presence on the show, has also been gone. So you have this returning superstar who needs to regain her aura, facing another returning superstar whose entire character is aura. And it's like, it was just, I don't think it was the right pairing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the psychology behind this pairing was not there. I think they just see Jamie as like a very reliable worker that could get the best out of Julia. it just didn't work out, unfortunately. And I mean, the finish was really dumb. I hope that they dropped the arrow stuff. Like, that was cool for the videos, not during the match, though. It was kind of a distraction. The referee snatched it away so she could hit the mist.
She used clear mist. Did you see that?
It was not it wasn't the red mist or the black mist.
No, it was, as far as I know, Jamie's face had nothing on it after. So she used clear mist, which I was like, okay, that makes sense because the referee can't see shit all over their face. But they still, like, anytime there's a missed spot, I always look, and Julia actually did a great job of positioning herself and completely blocking Jamie's face from the referee.
That was the good part of the match, I would say.
Yeah, no, for me, the ending spot was kind of the only spot that had fluidity to it. I thought that I liked how Julia, like, when she picks up the arrow, it didn't feel like she actually had intent to, like, hit Jamie with. Like, I kind of recognized that right away. And as the referee grabs it out of her hand, she has no reaction to it being taken away. She pretty much just gives it up and continues walking forward and immediately hits the mist. So I liked the fluidity in that, and I thought that she at least did it well. But again, like, that's a very much a character-based spot, right? And Julia's a much stronger character wrestler than, like, pure wrestler. But yeah, I thought I don't know. I don't think you need to do a series between these two. I don't think they need to exchange wins back and forth. Like, and I hope that's not what they do, but I think that Jamie needs to do something big and quick.
Yeah, she's lost a lot. If they want to get back to her, but I can kind of see where you're coming from. To be honest, it's like you made your choice. Like, you had Julia win. Like, let's just move forward with it. At the end of the day, I mean, I think it's a shame because, like, Jamie had so much when she had her injury. She was like the top person, and now it's just like something is just not clicking with this current run.
Also, when I was thinking about it, I would give her Wembley attire best attire of the year as well.
Oh,
the colors.
I was gonna ask you about that because she's very, like, I feel like very Scooby-Doo inspired with this latest run in terms of fashion sense.
I love it. I think she has, like, I wish that, like,
I love the hair.
Colors like that. It's just, it pops so much.
Like, the feathered back hair, I'm all about this returning. Like, I think it's such a, like, cool style. It's such a pain in the ass to do, though. Let me tell you, if someone with long hair. So I really respect that. First of all, the colors, it makes her stand out. I do wonder, though, if the 70s need to stay in the 70s at some point. Much like that's this whole show to me. It's like we're talking about stuff that happened 50 years ago, and we're trying to bring it back. Why are we doing that? But yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I like that she didn't just come back. I mean, I thought she looked great when she left, but I appreciate that she didn't just come back and do the same stuff. She made a concentrated effort to, like, switch up her style, so I do like that. They finally talk about stuff that happened at World's End, where they show Kenny Omega coming back. Should have been the start of the show, like the first thing we see, but instead it happened here. They also talked about Ospreay and Fletcher as well. They recapped the whole CC. It felt like a huge deal. It would have been cool if they had a big, like, this is another thing. If I would have had a major segment with Okada getting a trophy or something like that. Like an in-ring segment where we give him his roses. They talk about how important the CC was. It's clear that they value it based on certain commentators disrespecting it and getting suspended for 2 months recently. So if you care about it that much, give us an epic segment where, I would have done everything. They should have had every single person in the tournament come out for that. Like, all 12 members of the tournament. They talk about how great everybody did, how epic the tournament was. You couldn't have missed it. And Okada ended up winning and being this legacy tournament guy. But instead, we got like 10 seconds of him on video talking about it. Saying, how many times do I have to beat you, Omega? Stay out of my business. And then he does the bang, calls him a bitch. I didn't like this. Like, we talked about, like, this should have been one of, like, This should be their
if he didn't do the bitch, this would have been totally different.
Maybe.
I think this is where you drop the bitch.
Yes, that definitely needs to go. Like, we talked about it on the World's End show. This is your opportunity. You've screwed things up for an entire year with Okada. He has this amazing match with Ospreay. He finally looks like a star again. This is your chance. And instead, like I said, they didn't give him a limo entrance, a major trophy presentation, everyone talking about how great he was. They give him 10 seconds to call Omega a bitch, you know. And yeah, he did say some other stuff where he was talking about Ospreay's a little brother. And, you know, how many times I got to beat you. That stuff was fine. It's just the timing of it all. Like, he should have had a major segment on the show, not like a less than a minute in a video package, in my opinion. So that was my issue. But in fact, who did they say that for? The exact segment I'm talking about is for Mercedes, where she's going on. She has like a champagne bottle in the ring, does her CEO dance, and she cuts a promo that was like, the main point was to build up. This is the only hype for Wrestle Dynasty we had on the show, by the way, was her talking about her match with Mina Shirakawa, which I watched it. I didn't think it was very good, ultimately. And it's a shame because Mercedes has been on a great run of great matches recently, but it just didn't work out. But spoiler alert, she did get the Rev Pro title at Wrestle Dynasty. What do you think of Mercedes 3 belts?
Mercedes 4 belt. She better come out with that Queen of Southside championship. That thing is fucking butt ugly, dude. Did you see that title? I guess it's one of the belts that comes with the Rev Pro one. Not looking great. I bet that one does not make TV.
That's unfortunate. Bring him out.
Yep. No, I'm into Mercedes 3 belts. I feel like the next step from here has to be Mayu.
That would be a great match if they did that.
And then, yeah, because like Mayu, I don't think anyone's ever going to beat her for that IWGP title. Just let Mercedes take it.
Just never.
Yeah.
Well, somebody's going to have to do it when she leaves to go to Marigold eventually. But that would be a great match. I think the crowd would buy into that a lot if they gave them time, like on an AEW show. It kind of saves you a month because I think the rest of the division, everybody needs to be built up at this point in this women's division. Like, outside of Mariah and Tony, who are in their own little world, pretty much, the rest of the division, I think, all needs to build. And unfortunately, I mean, we'll see what happens. I know Stat's got a match on tonight's show, so hopefully they do something. That would have been, I would have given such a huge pop if I were there for that, for that music hit. The best theme song of 2024. We get the Undisputed Kingdom, and by that I mean 3 people. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. Apparently the Kingdom, the tag team, are just gone. Like, they don't count anymore. But they're hanging out, doing bro stuff backstage. And, they go to Roderick, and then suddenly Cole jerks the mic away, and he's talking about how they all want, like, the Kingdom's back, and we're, better than ever, blah, blah, blah. Kyle takes the mic and is like, we're the Kingdom, man. We can do anything. Trios, tag team, singles, even triple threats. Am I right, Roddy? And it was like, man, Kyle, man, what a terrible promo. He's
like, we're taking the fucking DDT 5-man titles. We're taking the Yokohama Street Shopping Trios titles.
Well, he's just saying how good they are in different match styles. It's like, we could do matches with 1 guy, 2 guys, even 3 guys. But no more than that, because as I said, Taven and Bennett, they don't count anymore. They disappeared.
Nope.
So it all leads to Roderick going out. Again, I like that they all want the title. That was good. The triple threat was totally, like, not important. The main point of the match was the angle of the year so far. So Swerve's on the outside. Like, they beat him up, and everybody's, like, Roderick and Jay are, like, brawling off somewhere, and Swerve's next to the guardrail. And suddenly, Ricochet walks up in a suit. Like, casually walks up behind him and stabs him in the head with scissors. I know you love this.
Oh, I loved it. Remember 3 weeks ago when I was like, we'll give it 3 weeks. Look at how
so
great.
Right.
Yeah. Like, it's just a great angle. I think we talked about this when we recorded our best of show last week. Has that dropped yet?
Yes, more on that later. We will talk about that off the air.
Sweet. Okay, cool.
Sweet.
Sorry, I've been zoned out as well. So
it's okay.
Or just checked out on social media, I should say.
Okay.
But I completely lost track of what I was talking about.
Ricochet stab Swerve with the scissors.
Ricochet stab Swerve. Yeah, if this aired in 2024, I would have given it most improved. What a segment. This was the best thing on the show.
It was by far the best thing on the show. So very smart move of Ricochet in the suit with the white shirt. Blood's all over the place. It's a huge blade job. Switchblade hits the Blade Runner to win and get the number 1 spot in the Battle Royal next week. Whatever. Ricochet continues his assault. He goes after him with the scissors, and then he casually just walks around with the scissors still in his hand as he's beating him down. He grabs a chair, knocks out Prince Nana, hits him with the chair. Goes after Swerve again. He sits him in the chair in the ring, hits the spirit gun, and then finally the Kingdom runs in to save Swerve after like this 5-minute beatdown. And we'll see what role they have in this feud between Ricochet and Swerve. But totally agree. This angle ruled, and it was freaking awesome. Definitely one of the best things we've seen so far in all of wrestling. And it gives us great hype for this feud as a whole. I mean, it was fun to have him throw toilet paper at him in the ring. That was like silly, but this was like so much better to me than that tone overall.
I will say as well, a lot of people were like, Ricochet wasn't playing his character in Dynasty, but I thought he kept that. Like, I thought at Dynasty, AEW co-branded shows, so I'll bring it up real quick, but yeah. I thought that he had a lot to prove, that he came in with the feeling that what had happened to him at World's End had actually happened, and he wasn't just leaving that out of his character for the night, right?
Right.
The segment that sticks out to me is when he looks at Zack Sabre Jr. He's like, "Stand up, motherfucker! Are we doing this?" And it was just a very like crass and just hard-edged Ricochet that you typically do not see. I think that his moveset was still pretty babyface leaning.
Yeah.
But he definitely played an effective heel against Zack. And I think that as his first in-ring performance following this segment, I thought he did a hell of a job.
Yeah, that match was really good. They were in a tough spot with all the emotion that came before it with Kenny Omega and Gabe Kidd. But they did deliver. It'll be interesting to see what they talk about with Omega, because they didn't mention his match at all on this January 1st show. The Wrestle Dynasty match that Omega had. So we'll be interested to see how they follow up on that and what role Dynasty has. We cut to a backstage segment where they're interviewing Jay Lethal, and they're like, "Hey, have you talked to Jeff Jarrett lately?" And he's like, "Of course we talked, but just not today." And suddenly, like, literally as soon as he said that, guess who walks up but Jeff Jarrett. And he's going on, and then Karen walks up and hands him his boots. And is like, they're all like, "Whatever you do, Jeff, we love you, man. We've all got your back." And Jeff's like, "I gotta do what I gotta do." We had a pre-tape with Mariah May where she talks about, they're like, "I need to say something nice about the women's division. All right, I promised I wouldn't say anything bad about the women's division. So let's talk about the best part, me." And she goes on cutting a heel promo, talking about how, she's the best and nobody else is on her level. And she will continue being the champion. So more build to that. Brief segment. Good to let her not get forgotten. Blah, blah, blah. So then we got Jeff Jarrett in the ring. He puts his boots down. So here's my main problem with this whole deal. he was fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with his promo per se, but it was just so blatantly obvious, like, of where this was going right away, that they did this long build-up where he was like, 80 years ago, my grandmother took a job as a ticket salesman for wrestling, and that changed our life forever. He talked about his dad. He was like, skip ahead, 2002, I started my own company, and look how great it was. Look how great it's become. And that's one way to talk about TNA, I would say. He's very proud of it, so I'm not going to take it away from him. But long story short, he says, I ain't retiring. In fact, I want gold. He has this big build-up, and he's like, I don't just want any kind of championship. I promise I will become the AEW World Champion. What do you think?
I didn't like this, and I love Jeff Jarrett. This feels like the complete, like, obviously this is his Sting style swan song, right? Yeah. AEW is retiring their next legend.
Well, okay, let me not to interrupt you, but let me comment on that real quick. He said that he signed a contract. This could be a 7-year contract, Nello.
We don't know how long it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who's to say? Like, he promised he would be the champion during this contract. It might be a 10-year deal for all we know.
Yeah, like my gut says a year.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It feels like the complete opposite of what Sting did. Sting was able to carve a spot out for himself on the show where he could tell great stories, but he never took away from the titles, the programs. Like, he did not, he didn't want those tag titles involved in the retirement match at first. Yes. And like, this to me feels like I said, the complete opposite. This is, I'm going to put myself into a world title picture at age 60, whatever. Like, it's, especially as you already have Copeland and Christian as your other two people, primary people orbiting the world title. This feels like a world title scene that is quickly becoming older than Noah 2021.
That's old.
That was when, like, their average age competitor for the N1 was like 51 or some shit.
Well, I will say, none of these people are as bad as Muto was.
Yes. No, but, and like, I want to see Jeff Jarrett's retirement tour, but I don't want to see him going for the world title. Like, I think that, and we say this as, we'll talk about John Cena on Raw, but I think there's such a difference in there's such a difference in terms of presentation that matters right now. And like, a Jeff Jarrett versus a John Cena are people not just in different like leagues, but still like in completely different chapters of their career, nearly 20 years apart, even though Cena's retiring this year as well. Like, it's just, one is believable and the other is absolutely no part of me believes Jeff Jarrett will win the world title. And that's a big reason I don't want to see it.
And I don't want to see that at this point. Double J's done a great job of carving out his role in this company, and he deserves a lot of credit. I'm a fan of his too. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely a 100% Jeff Jarrett fan. But right now in AEW, for the reasons you mentioned, this is the last thing this belt needs. And the title's already in the toilet, thanks to what they're doing right now. But this was the last thing the belt needed for him to go for it. It's like, we're doing this Edge and Christian stuff. By the way, allegedly this Moxley Death Rider stuff was supposed to be for the young guys, and yet the people feuding are all in their 50s like, for the belt, like going for the title. So this was not what the title needs. Jeff Jarrett doesn't need to be the world champion. Like, nobody really wants that, like, in their heart, I feel like. This setup, to me, has to be purely for the Owen Hart tournament and for him to go for the belt, and he should lose at the end. Like, I hope that they don't get so wrapped up in this that they don't say, like, All In's in Texas, let's give the Last Outlaw a main event spot.
Yes.
I just have him lose at the end.
And it's absolutely no disrespect to Jeff Jarrett, but his retirement is not in the same league as Sting's retirement.
Oh.
In terms of a modern day audience and their reception to it, Sting is far more of like a transcending superstar generation and stuff. Everyone knew what Sting did, right? There's so many people, but like I don't think that there is that big of a fan base with the same attachment to Jarrett in the entirety of his career, because he's also had such huge gaps in his career where it's always been more of a conversation of holy shit, how does Jeff Jarrett keep coming back and getting jobs? It's not like the icon fucking is retiring or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is to say, again, Sting did not even go into the world title conversation once. And I think that is why his retirement meant so much more, is because he was able to do so fucking much without any titles until the very end.
Well, we've got more old guys to be in the main event. Let's talk about them. But first, we had Powerhouse Hobbs. He destroyed two guys, John Cruz and Rob Killjoy. It was a very fast squash. At least they have Hobbs in mind. It's nothing special, but at least they kept him in mind. Because he is awesome.
Hobbs won the Casino Gauntlet.
Hell yeah. That
there
rules.
You go.
Yeah, I'm all about that. So they move on. They cut this segment. This is a ridiculous segment. So the learning tree are there. The Big Bill's all like, I know everyone wants to see Jericho, but he's not going to come here to Asheville. And then the camera cuts literally like 3 feet away from them to see FTR and Edge like right there. Like they're right there. Oh, excuse me, Cope. Right there, as we would find out later. So they're going up, and everybody's all like, where's Jericho at? And they're like, we told you guys, he's not here. And Cope looks at Big Bill, and he's all like, your face is stupid. And they set up a trios match for them, which did happen in Collision. Definitely have no interest in Cope and Jericho in any kind of program. I can promise you that on there. So MJF gets his promo where he's talking about, like, I can't believe you kept the title in a briefcase, like my title. And he goes after Moxley and he says, this is the year the devil gets his due. And he does like the devil horn sign on there. Very dumb promo in my opinion, but still I liked the soul of it, even if the execution wasn't great. I did like that he said, you know, him and Cole are through, which is very good. I'm so glad they're moving on from all of that. It only took him 3 months to realize this, but they went with that. MJF and Moxley for the title. Could that be something? And
roles reversed this time. Hopefully MJF doesn't do another political campaign and make him sign a.
Oh dear God.
What was it? That was the whole gimmick. There was actually a line I really liked in that feud where MJF makes Moxley sign the contract. Now he can't use the Death Rider. MJF's laughing, ha ha ha. Moxley smiles. MJF gets pissed off. Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling? I'm the fucking guy. And then Moxley goes, now I just get to think of a million other ways how to kill you. And like that is a line that I actually talk about in class a lot in terms of like constraints and how they can breed creativity.
Yeah, that's true. Like what you said is true. Like constraints totally do breed creativity. I just don't know if I want MJF's version of creativity being bred. No.
I mean, it was the thing John Moxley said anyway. It wasn't even MJF's, you know. So anyway, he's feuding with Jeff Jarrett now, so we don't have to worry about that quite yet.
Oh, thank God. Yes, this is the main event feud we all want.
Do you mind this live play-by-play as we're going through this, by the way?
It's fine. We're almost done with the show anyway. But the thing is, we need play-by-play on the big news of this show. Cope. What do you think?
Nope.
Nope. Cope.
Nope. No. Just no. Even Copeland is better, but like, I don't know. It's
why? Who asked for this change? Like, who was complaining about Adam Copeland? Like, nobody complained about the name except for him, apparently.
Picture Adam Copeland. He's like waking up, looking in the mirror. He's like, everyone's making fun of you, you piece of shit. Adam Copeland, what a joke of a name. Name yourself something real. Call yourself Cope, you coward. Just fucking.
You're paranoid and something nobody ever said, like a problem that no one had. But when this happened, I was like flabbergasted. Because I was like, they announced him as the rated R superstar Cope on there. Why? I was just stunned by this. And the best part of this is when he's in the ring fighting, the crowd starts chanting, Adam, Adam, Adam. I loved it. I was laughing my ass off at this. What a name. This is the proof that, you know, Adam Copeland used to be the cool guy. Like, he was on the cutting edge of, you know, the next generation of wrestling all that time ago. And that time is over with. He is now, everything's passed him by. He has no idea what's cool anymore for him to do this. But still, FTR, rated FTR, the crowd loved him. I will give him that in Asheville. They went crazy. They did a typical 6-man match. It was good. Like, I had no problems with the match itself. It led to FTR hitting the Shatter Machine into the spear to get the win. Cope. That's a sad thing. But, you know, it set up a nice little program for Mox. I think he's the wrong guy, again, in the context of what AEW needs right now. Like, there's a time and a place where a Cope title shot could be good. I don't think it's right now with the title reign being what it's been overall.
Also, like, if we look at the shows that are coming up, right?
Yeah.
Unless they do this at Grand Slam in Australia, because Hobbs just got the Maximum Carnage spot. As far as we know, there are no other specials, no other planned world title matches between now and presumably Grand Slam. So unless they do it at Grand Slam, this is going to be a Revolution match, which is 2 months out.
Yeah.
And they're already feuding. This isn't something you just, like, you know, they put it on ice for a week because he can fight Will Hobbs now or whatever, right? But again, assuming that Jay White gets the Australia spot, because honestly, like, if you're ever going to put him in a match for a world title, just put him in fucking Australia. Like, that's his spot. So again, like, but this isn't a world title match that I want to see, much less a program that I want to see get dragged out for 2 months. And that also really begs the question still of, like, what are they going to do with Darby? Because they keep positioning him as this guy who's going to take down Moxley, but it's like you can only have him, like, away for so long until it just becomes, like, glaring, like, because he's not building himself up at all. Like, he did the Continental Classic and he didn't advance. There's nothing, like, and there's no follow up really.
It's the same thing. I said this, like, this was my fear on all these people, like him, Stats, everybody. It's just a constant thing where someone will be built up as this legendary, like, not a legend, but an epic guy. He's ready to go for the title. He's the next in line. And then they just disappear. Why? Like, why do you do this, AEW? I want to like you. Like, I want to like you. And you do this to me. I don't understand. At the end of the day. But that said, the show closed with Edge posing in the league, or Cope posing. And, yeah, I mean, I really agree with what you said about him getting the title shot. Why would you do this? Why are you using him as a main eventer? This is not what you do. This is not what the company needs. Why?
No, these guys should be here putting over young dudes. Like,
exactly. The problem is, Nello, that we have all of these ex-WWE writers that are now here, and they want these guys in the top to be the top guys. Like they're not worried about Darby because he's not a WWE guy. Like the writers go with who they're familiar with, and obviously Tony respects these guys. And again, I'm not saying they're not worthy of respect, your Edges and Christians, but like they had legendary runs. I'm not hating on them, but I'm logical at the same time. And that's why we get these negative reactions to things. But overall, I didn't think this was a home run show. Like to start the year off with. Like I think that they had an idea in mind again to catch a lot of people up, or maybe just maybe they thought they would get this influx of new viewers, which I mean the raw numbers that we saw show that may not be true ultimately.
Yeah, like last week Dynamite was on the front page. It was the main featured thing on Max.
Yep.
This week, it was not on the front page. And if you scrolled through the 7 tabs on the front page, it wasn't on any of them.
Wow.
The only place where you could find it accessibly was under Bleacher Report Sports. So not on the front page anymore, but it was on the front page of the sports thing. But just that alone, like that is so unless you're going to the sports now, you don't know it's airing tonight, right? So that is a complete loss of visibility. They had their week with the front row spot, and I think they fucking bombed it. I don't know what they did to bring in new fans this week. This shouldn't have been like this felt like a raw AEW show when it needed to be like an all hands on deck, which put on the most like Raw was not exceptional, and we'll talk about it, but they did put on a Mania level show.
Right.
In terms of the talent, the hands assembled, the matches that they chose. Like they blew like they just
That's
blew
a good
off
point.
So many programs on Raw, and on this there's no blow off matches. You can't call Julia and Jamie a blow off. It's the first match in their feud. Like there was nothing on this that felt like it had real weight to it. Like the Casino Gauntlet #1 spot. Okay. Right. But other than that, like this felt like any other week. And when this needed to be the fucking week.
I agree. And like even the wrestling was not exceptional.
No, that's what I said earlier. Like this, they say we're the best at wrestle, and they were missing that. So if you don't have that, then to me, you've completely lost your identity on said night, because they already struggle with things outside of just the wrestling. And they weren't any better in that area either.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing. Like they should have focused on everything that WWE was not going to give you, because they did give you main event caliber matches on Raw. But we know that the Roman Reigns style, anybody with any sense knows that there's a big difference between Roman Reigns style of match and Will Ospreay style. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like have something that they are not going to do. Something very special, something that makes you feel like you've seen one of the like legendary matches. Like you could have done that. You could have had Ospreay and Fletcher the blow off to their match, to their feud, like 1-versus-1, even though they actually wrestled before. Will actually won the other one, but whatever. Like 1-versus-1 since Fletcher's heel turn, and blow off that feud in an epic 30-minute match to close the show. You know, that sets up Ospreay as the new face of the promotion or whatever. And instead, we just got kind of a cold show. Like, it's very weird. Like I said, it felt like their agenda for this, as I said, was to show a bunch of recaps so it makes people like feel like they're caught up on the promotion. The problem is that they're caught up, but why would they want to come back to see what happens next when you give them this lame show? Ultimately, they forgot that you also have to make people want to come back to see what happens next, not just tell them what happened up to this point. It wasn't a great start to the era, and it was really an unfortunate way that they went about it ultimately. But yeah, let's move on to Raw and Netflix. This was also on the front page of Netflix. Raw was. And it started off from the Inuit Dome in Inglewood, California. Very unfortunate that Pat McAfee is back. on commentary because I thought they had something good going with Joe and Wade.
Dude, and he didn't even have energy, it felt like.
Yeah. And you would think of all shows, this would be the one he'd be most hyped for.
Yeah, he just kind of sounded hungover, honestly.
Yeah.
It was just like so low, like, I don't know. It like he gets like
he probably was.
Even though he gets everything wrong, he does it enthusiastically. Here, he just got everything wrong and sounded bummed out while doing it. It was depressing, honestly.
And Michael Cole did that warm your heart enough to overcome that?
No. So where's Joe now?
They said that he was on the freaking post show or whatever. That him and Wade both are like now they're the post show guys of Raw. And I think that's a shame. I thought they did really great work. Like they were a really good team. They're very disappointing. Maybe they'll be back for SmackDown this week. All 3 hours of that, which I don't want to watch that. But still, so they go on and on. The show starts, where I think it's interesting with this being so tight with Netflix. They teased, a big talking point was basically like, well, we don't know when the show is going to go. You know, I heard Triple H say in an interview, it's like, if it needs to go 45 minutes, it'll go 45 minutes. And I was like, oh, you're such a bullshitter, Triple H. They never going to go 45 minutes on there. But he's basically like, it could go 4 hours. Like, you never know. We can do whatever we want. But in reality, this show just ended at the normal time. It just ended at 10. Like, it's Central Time here. It's like, okay. And I'm glad they didn't go to some crazy amount of length. But they just had a normal 3-hour show for them here, pretty much. So
this was insane, dude. I swear to God, they're trying to do this thing now where they're like, let's see how little wrestling we can get away with on our shows and how much longer we can make in them. Like, because we just got a 5-match pay-per-view that's like 3.5 hours. And it's like, how do these
we're going to trump that. Yeah, you thought 5 matches were too little?
There's like 25 minutes between the end of Reigns and the beginning of Ripley and Morgan or something. Like,
yeah. And all filler content on top of it. We'll get to the show. So the show starts with, like, they do this painting video package where it shows somebody painting stuff. It's like of Hulk Hogan's face. We'll more on him later. So they're going on with, like, legendary moments, and Triple H doing this narration where he's like, the story of wrestling, it's everything you want. Faces and heels, kayfabe and shoots. And I was like, what the like, what is this going on there? And he was like, no matter what stories we tell, there's always an element of truth to every single one. So he basically just went on this shoot promo where he was like, this whole wrestling thing, it's like a movie, but sometimes it can be like there's a little bit of truth in it. It's like, I just thought it was a really weird way to start. I saw some people say this was like really, they were really mad about this breaking kayfabe or whatever. I was just more so confused. Like, why was this how you started the show off?
I mean, this is like just to compare, right? How each show introduced its audience. AEW, no real video package, no real. This is who AEW
this was better than
is.
That, for sure.
No, totally. But I'm like, I wasn't necessarily a fan of this, but just looking at how each brand put themselves, WWE totally pushed themselves, their history. They try to create and sell themselves as like a Marvel Comics entity, I feel like.
That's
where
what
it's
this
like
kind of
the
looked like.
Stories
actually,
are always going, especially like the murals and everything they did.
Yeah.
Like, it was very similar artwork, very similar editing styles, cinematic techniques. The funniest fucking thing to me is how Triple H keeps saying that he doesn't want to be an on-screen presence or whatever. And dude, this guy, I swear to God, is like, it's like your homie where anytime someone takes out a camera, they got to jump in the photo.
Yes.
Like, this guy, man, like he is the face. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I thought it was like impactful. Did it impact me? No. But did I think it was still impactful? Yes. It felt like they wanted to establish a moment, a cultural moment of this is WWE. This is who WWE is. We're technicos and rudos.
Well, he didn't say it like that, but it would have been funny if he did, though.
Yeah.
No, he should have said that. But I like the idea of it. I know a lot of people were like, and I love the reveal at the end with the big mural, like of the ring canvas was all the painting of the legends or whatever. Like that was awesome. And they relived a lot of the moments, like Tyson and Austin brawling and Hogan and Andre and all that stuff. Like they recounted their history in this like 2-minute video. Pretty much, and it was a cool ending. Like I said, the kayfabe stuff didn't bother me actually. I just thought it was a weird way to, like, a weird tone for what.
I think. Okay, so if you're coming into this,
yeah.
What is the number one critique people who do not like wrestling or know wrestling are gonna say when they come into wrestling?
Oh, is this the fake stuff?
Exactly. So what do they do to combat that right at the beginning?
That's a good point. Like that's actually a really good point, to be honest. If you are gonna get new Netflix people watching, that's a great way to start off. Like, look, like we know what's going on here. It's a show. Like, don't make it more than it is. Like,
they make it seem relatable in the sense of it's scripted. It is creating moments, and it's like you can sort of take that and be like, okay, I can relate this to other forms of media that I take in that still apply the same formula, which is all fucking media. But some people just fail to understand that when it comes to pro wrestling. But, again, did I think that this was like, I think that this was so valuable and so smart, but it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, no,
I feel like
I get what you're
that
saying.
Could be a lot of WWE sometimes.
Yeah, so I mean that's true as well. It's not necessarily for us, the people who have been watching for 25 years or whatever, here. But it was smart to do a video like this. Like I said, I thought the kayfabe stuff was like the tone was weird, but I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was confusing, but the end result was cool with the painting and all that. So then it cuts to like. This was kind of weird. So the video played on like this circular curtain that covered the whole ring. And when the video ended, the curtain dropped. And of course, Triple H was in the ring. Like you said, like the biggest spotlight hog there ever has been. And he goes on, he's like, this is a new era. We need you people to be louder than anything the new fans have ever heard before, because it's the Netflix era. So this was all good. It's the fact that it's him that annoys me a little bit. But the idea of the curtain dropping and the intro to the show was pretty great. I do have to admit that. So then the first person we hear come out, The Rock's music hits, and the crowd's going nuts, and he's talking about how, like, back in the old days, you could either buy a ticket or you could get the local fan or whatever. He's like, now the whole world can watch on Netflix, and he brags about this being the largest arena gate in WWE history.
Dude, crowd pops so fucking hilarious. We got price gouged, baby.
Yeah, like I didn't cheer this. Like it's so fucking stupid. Like, yes, we paid more money than anyone else in history. And The Rock was like, congratulations, pat yourself on the back. And I was like, meanwhile, his pocket just went up. I was like, oh my god. Like, the fans are goofy. But it's something that sounds big, and I guess the fans just latched onto it. Like, it was so dumb. But then,
dude, like something that has to be said too, though, sold out into a dome, 17,000 plus. Dynamite Fight for the Fallen did 3,000.
Yeah,
like it's hit that point where, and this actually comparison works a little bit, but when the pandemic started and ICW and GCW started running shows again, they started running the same venues, Showboat Hotel, the Carousel Room, other places like I can't remember, but then it hit a point where GCW was running Hammerstein and ICW wasn't even running the places they used to run anymore. And it's like we're starting to see that division in such real time now. that again does too feel like a WCW WWF comparison point as well,
Yeah.
of like when one company just catches fire so hard and takes off, and it's like you are seeing this other one really fucking struggle. Like and it's crazy because a lot of the stars on these AEW shows would still be superstars and be selling tickets on these WWE shows. And it's like they just can't figure out how to crack that formula in this company. Anyway, sorry.
No, I mean it's a really good point. Like you said, like if Cope walked out on Raw, he would get a huge pop. Like he'd feel like a superstar.
Yep.
Bryan Danielson could be a difference maker if he were in WWE. Same deal. Kind of go back what I said before though. It's like one show you've got the Pointer Sisters, and this show you have Travis Scott. There, so it kind of like
smoking a blunt.
More on that later, as well. So The Rock goes on, and he's like, the Netflix execs made this happen. We love them so much. They cut to some executive in the crowd, like pumping his fist and looking happy. He's like, yes, The Rock mentioned me. Then he's like, there's one more person who's carried this company on his back. And he goes to Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes just standing in the crowd for no discernible reason. And Rock like gives him love. So he goes on. I'll talk about this in a little bit. Let me get through this Rock nonsense. He goes over about who's the tribal chief. And finally, after like 20 minutes or whatever of this nonsense, he's like, it's enough of talking. It's time to start the show. I just thought it was so damn dumb to overwrite all the stuff with the Rock and Cody. Like, why would you just... It's obvious that he probably is not doing WrestleMania this year. I think that's what this segment tells us. Maybe he'll get so annoyed because I know I'm not making a unique criticism. I know a lot of people felt this way, that he may see all of this. And he already came out with that response where he's like, shut your mouth. Like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, in NXT, he came out drunk and was like, I am always 20 steps. Or he said the final boss is always 20 steps ahead. And so the final boss is actually in the bottom of the fourth inning. While we still, and the rest of the bloodline are in the bottom of the third.
That's the thing. The thing is, the fans have to bully The Rock to become the final boss, who's awesome, and not his like pandering lame character, which he was here.
Yeah, he's like shouting at the Netflix execs like I give a fuck. Like
yeah, exactly. Like this promo didn't do anything.
I'm like, dude, come on, you're gonna show me a commercial on a streaming service anyway in 30 seconds. Just let me watch wrestling.
Yeah, like total waste of time, in my opinion, this Rock promo. He could have come out, pointed to his goosebumps that he loves doing, and cut like literally a couple of minute promo and gotten all the same stuff that he got in this like long ass segment. So that sets up the tribal combat match. Good point that you made. I didn't even think about it this way. But say what you want about this show and how little actual wrestling there was on. They did actually have enough care to put out their main matches. Like these were the two hottest angles in the company, pretty much.
Solo and Reigns is something you could have held on to till Mania. 100%. In terms of like the level of match that it is, same with Punk and Rollins. Like
exactly.
These are not matches that they had to give away on TV, and very fucking rarely does WWE give away these types of matches on television.
Yeah, they at least wanted to make this show seem special, even if it was kind of boring for lots of it.
Wasn't this like Roman's first televised match in like non-PLE match in like 4 fucking years or something, dude?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I thought the match was... The thing is, it really depends on your feelings on this style. Because there was a lot of like, Solo was like, I loved you. I always loved you, but you never loved me.
Oh, it was so bad. His voice was so off, too. I was like, you have no confidence in what you're saying right now. You do not believe what you're saying. Stop talking. It was just bad. Really bad acting.
The thing is, Solo's most successful run was when he was silent. Like, just let him come out, do badass stuff, and hurt people. like you don't need to have this, I loved you nonsense. Like, like nobody cares about this. He hit the spinning solo on the table. Solo hit him. He went with the chair looking for the butt splash in the corner, but Reigns gunned him down. Looked for the concerto, that missed. He hits the spinning solo on the chair. Roman hits a spear, but then Topanga runs out to pull the ref out. Jacob Fatu comes in. Tonga Loa, poor Tonga Loa, cannot get a spot on this show. But Fatu does the thing with the moonsaults, and then suddenly Sammy and Jey Uso run out to, even the odds. And Kevin Owens runs out, hits a stunner on Reigns, hits the package pile driver, but then Cody runs out. I thought he was in the crowd, but whatever. Roman ends up hitting the spear to put Solo away. He now has the Ula Fala and is the tribal chief once again.
And then The Rock came out. He kissed him on the cheek and he said, "Cody, Roman, I'm facing neither of you at WrestleMania. I will not be there this year."
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, draw on your own. Like I said, I think, though, he may get so annoyed at the negative reaction to this that he may just turn around and be like, all right, I got to do Mania now. I have to be the final boss. I tried to do the pandering Rock guy thing. No, I'm changing it all around. Rip up the street sheets. Punk, you're not going to be the main event again.
You should straight up be cutting promos and releasing them on Hulu. It should be that level of fucked up.
Wow. That would be, honestly, though, for this Netflix expansion, if you did a series of Rock promos, similar to last year, you just released them as episodes.
Oh, dude.
That would be really smart, actually, if they could do that. But, yeah, so like you said, Rock came out, took the Ula Fala, put it on Roman, and then just, stepped off to the side as Roman posed. Really lame work from The Rock here tonight, but what do you think of the match?
Not for me. I'm not gonna you and I at this point have talked about 2+ years of bloodline matches.
Yeah, too long.
I don't think there's ever been one that I have many positive things to say about besides maybe Cody Roman too, from this past year. But yeah, not for me. These matches are not for me. I don't like the community theater. It was the longest match on the show I expected it to be. I don't think it necessarily did anything for Roman Reigns or Solo Sikoa. But I imagine that they will figure out a way to make this story continue. But though, where do you go from here in terms of bloodline stuff, right? Because it feels like this sort of civil war is done.
Yeah.
Roman's got the Ula Fala back. He presumably feuds with the Punk or someone else, but does the bloodline just go on ice? This feels like we're about to enter maybe the first era where the bloodline are doing a non-bloodline dominant storyline. Does that make sense?
Yes. If it weren't so convoluted how they booked it, it wouldn't. But the way you said it was actually accurate. Yeah, I mean, I'm just done with all of this, to be honest, this bloodline business. I'd like to see Roman do something way different. Solo, I don't know. Like you said, this new bloodline, it seems like it might be the end of the line here for this. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Jacob, if they have any plans for him. I think it would be cool if they did. But the thing is, the problem with this is if there's going to be a turn in this new bloodline, who would go babyface?
Jacob. He's like, I hate you, Solo.
Well, the thing is, Solo is one of the few heels on this show that actually gets real heat. So that is nice. The crowd was chanting "fuck you, Solo." For the most part,
really nice that wasn't censored. I will say that's one of my biggest pet peeves of WWE. Is when they censor the crowd chants is so fucking annoying because it's just constant intermittent silence.
I totally agree. Even The Rock said bullshit and they didn't bleep it out. So Netflix paid off already, I guess.
Yeah, apparently they did censor it in Canada. on Canadian Netflix because I listened to the post review, and John said that they did get censoring for what the wrestlers said, but not for the crowd. So I guess we can hear bullshit, but we have to get ads. So maybe we are winning, Dylan. Who knows?
I guess so. But otherwise, I thought the match was okay. But I'm like you, like this isn't my style of match anyway. So I kind of look at it like outside of myself, kind of. I think it was effective for what they wanted, but it's not something I personally was hyped for. And even by the end, I didn't think it was that great. Just like I said, the style itself doomed it, even if the work was good. And I didn't even think the work was that good, to be honest. They announced that the Royal Rumble going to Arabia next year. I mean, it was only a matter of time, right? That we'd get one of these major shows in Saudi. I don't really have any thoughts on it.
10 a.m. Royal Rumble sounds great to me.
Well, we were talking about it, about the Australia show. It's like for AEW. Like, what kind of crazy start time is that going to have if they make it a pay-per-view? It's the same thing for this. It's going to be like a noon Royal Rumble, like, or whatever, or like 10 a.m., like you said. Crazy. But I'm sure they're getting paid so much money that they are not going to worry about that. But yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on it otherwise. They did do this weird segment where they cut to Rey Mysterio in the crowd. He turns around and shows his Eddie Guerrero shirt, which was awesome. He got a huge pop. Then they cut to LA Knight and the War Raiders. What was the purpose of this? Like, and they did this multiple times, like showing for the celebrities, I get it, but the actual people on the roster.
It was all SmackDown people, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, Ray and the War Raiders are on Raw.
Oh, okay. Shows how much I know.
Yeah,
but like because Cody, I remembered Cody, Nakamura, Bianca, Naomi. Yeah. So I thought that they were just trying to get SmackDown superstars on here without like actually breaking the brand split, I guess.
And Ray was supposed to be in a match. Like they hyped him for a tag match against
Dude, yeah. I had a friend watching, shout out Wendy. Love ya. But they were like, shout out Wendy. They were like, I'm actually gonna watch Raw tonight for the Penta debut, y'all. And then they were like, so they canceled the fucking match.
I know. Like what the hell? Like why? Why would you do this? It's not like they did. Let's be honest. It's not like they didn't have enough time for in-ring stuff here that they took on from us.
Here's the thing too. Like I don't want Penta though. I didn't know that he was gonna supposedly debut with Ray. I don't want him to debut with Ray. There's like I would call it the Rey Mysterio vortex at this point.
The like LWO-verse.
Dude, yeah, like they bring in Mexican superstars and it's like they think that like to introduce them to an American audience, like they have to pass through Rey Mysterio or something, right? And it's like they don't all have to be fucking affiliated, dude. Like,
I mean, he's gonna get a huge. I kind of like it better too. Like him and Gable. Like Gable is like the perfect. That's the best possible person to have a match with, like for a singles debut. If he's got anything in the tank in ring wise, he's gonna be able to show it against Gable.
Yep.
But I mean, he's gonna get a huge pop next week when he comes in. Like Sarah Miedo, everyone's gonna go crazy for it. But after that, John Cena's music hits, and he comes in and cuts his promo, and he's like, the fans have always been honest, but they've always told it like it is. And I know we've got more fans than ever now, but thank God you guys let me stand in the ring in jorts for one more time. And he's going on, he's like, who do people want to see my last match against? Maybe it could be Drew. Maybe it could be CM Punk. Or even Cody Rhodes. They say Cody at the end here. And he was like, people are asking me about when I will win the win the world title and become the 17-time record-breaking champion. The crowd goes crazy. And he says, the problem is I just don't see that happening. He does like the pun with the you can't see me head gesture when he says that. He says, the problem is it's been a streak. I'm not talking about the Undertaker streak. I'm talking it's been over 2,000 blah, blah, blah days since I've won a singles match. which is insane.
He's like, there's a streak. I suck now.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I cannot win. It's been a million years since I've won a match. So the world title, it's never going to happen. I have a better chance of winning an Oscar. And, well, you know. That's how he says it. Like, you know. He's like, yes, I suck as an actor. But he's like, the only chance to do it is if he could win the Money in the Bank, or the Elimination Chamber, or the Royal Rumble. And he's like, nothing is impossible. Never say never unless it's never to give up. You can't see me, and the champ is here. Cena in the Rumble. So that was like one of the bigger news items coming out of the show, is that he'll be in the Rumble. What do you think of his promo?
Good. Cena's the thing I'm most excited for in 2025 WWE.
Yeah, me
I hope he wins the Rumble. I hope he beats Cody. Cody doesn't need a title anymore. I don't think Cody's fucking run has really been all that interesting, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it hasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see Cena as world champion the entire year and have amazing world title matches with young talent, and then drop the belt to someone at the end of the year.
Yeah, kind of redo his U.S. title, like Gauntlet from 10 years ago, where he was on TV every week and putting over all the young guys.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be great. It really depends on how they want to play it, because they could do that, and that would be really good. I wonder if they don't want to, because the thing is, if he wins the title at WrestleMania is going to be sold out no matter what happens. If every person on the roster retires tomorrow, WrestleMania is going to be sold out with whoever they put on there. They may want to save Cena's title win for its own show. Like to draw in a major market or something like that. I can see them thinking like that. And like, let's put off Cena's big win until we need it. Until like we can charge our fans $1 million per ticket and break all of our records again. We'll make sure Cena gets a title shot then. I can see them wanting to wait for that more so, even though a WrestleMania moment would be great for that. And he is, he's one of the most interesting guys in this Rumble coming up in terms of people who could win.
The fact that we'll see a Punk Cena interaction, presumably. I think that, there's no reason why Roman shouldn't enter the Rumble this year either, theoretically, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at potentially your biggest Final Four ever. I don't know who the fourth is yet, but, it could be Rollins, and I think that there might be someone bigger, but, just having Cena, Punk, and Reigns, and I don't know, who else could you see?
What about The Rock?
That would be crazy if he came in the Rumble.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't do WrestleMania. That doesn't mean he can't do the Rumble.
No, and I mean, it's one of those things where it also shows you the access to talent that they have right now. But I mean,
embarrassment of riches. It's star power, yes.
It's easily your biggest Final Four in the history of the Royal Rumble, and I feel like this year could be. I think if and when Roman announces himself, it will tick up even that extra level.
Yeah, that's a great call. I didn't even think about Roman in the Rumble, but that should be a huge deal that they bring to the table. And he has a natural, he'd be one of the favorites, to get a rematch against Cody, third year in a row. That would be one of the more interesting storylines you could draw from. I mean, not interesting to me, but in terms of a narrative way of going about it.
Yeah.
So good stuff there. Yeah, Cena's promo was good. The crowd loved him. I mean, all of his promos are going to be like this, to where he's got him. It's going to be so easy for him this whole year. Then they do a video package of Logan Paul, and he's like, "No more side hustle. This is my life now. I'm a wrestler, motherfucker," and all this. And then it cuts to him in the crowd where he's booing the fans and they're booing him. Logan Paul's back. I thought he retired. But regardless, he'll be in the Rumble. He'll get a major spot probably. So they didn't cut to this was awesome because they cut to the crowd and we have a guy with his hat down covering his face. And then he leans up and it reveals it's Macaulay Culkin. And he got a huge pop from the crowd. This is one of the biggest reactions from the crowd.
Yep. He worked it perfectly.
I don't a worker through and through, Macaulay Culkin, man. This is my guy. I hate that bastard. Married to Brenda Song. How dare you? What is that? Speaking of my childhood crushes, Danielle Fishel gets shown next. Topanga from Boy Meets World.
That was another thing I'll say too, like, because I want to definitely do comparisons here between the shows. The amount of celebrity star power that they had at this show in comparison to Asheville, fucking, where is it again? North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Like, I'm sorry, but that was not the place to do your Max debut.
Yeah.
Like, you had fuck all there. And
should have been in Clarksville, Tennessee instead.
You should have been in Red Bank at the TW. We'll get there. Never mind.
Yeah, don't worry. That's coming up real soon.
Imagine that one fan ringside. You know exactly the fan I'm talking about. And during Reigns and Sokoa, he's like, Reigns, bring him over here. He's just got his lighter ready. Yes. But no, it's like I don't want to say AEW by no way feels like an indie, but it doesn't feel like it's on the level. Like, I don't know what it was anymore, but it is on such a higher, and not Raw, WWE is on such a bigger level now that it's like AEW is still mainstream, but it's starting to just feel kind of cheap. Like, in comparison, like in terms of who's coming to your shows. Why aren't more, like, in terms of celebrity, regular people, all these things, right? Like, how come you're not doing this stuff? Like, because I think now it's become incredibly glaring this past week to me.
And Danielle is a true fan. Like, she did it. Like, she showed up to indie shows. Like, she's like a true wrestling fan.
So did Macaulay Culkin. I think they showed Kieran Vanessa Hudgens. Like, there were a lot of celebrities there that are like legit wrestling fans, which I thought was cool. And
this Raw was booked for like teenage Dylan. Like, they had everybody.
And it's not even like, I want to say too, it's not like celebrities are important here, right? Like, I come to wrestling for the wrestling, but it made it seem like this was such a fucking cool, you needed to be there. Like, this was the hottest ticket in the country type thing. Where again, the other was like, yes, it was for a great reason. We're helping out hurricane victims in Asheville, but it just like, it felt so disconnected from a Max debut when you look at what a streaming debut can be after watching Raw.
You think they would have access to some people? Like, like some star power from just Warner Brothers.
No Sting. Yeah. No one. Like, even from their own little drawer. Like, no Sting. Like, fuck, no Big Show. Like, you brought up Big Show with Rizzler. No Rizzler.
No, they can't leave the Rizzler behind.
Yeah, you couldn't even get the Rizzler to be fucking. Imagine they show Rizzler ringside at Raw. I would have had a heart attack.
That would have been
I would have been like, holy shit, the first shots of the war have been fired. Oh my god.
The big jump.
Big jump. Probably the biggest since Cody, honestly, if we're talking here.
Can you imagine they brought him all over? What about Big Justice? Could he? What? There's the divide though. What if Big Justice stays loyal to AEW and Rizzler jumps?
Would get the biggest babyface pop? Okay, give me the NXT book. NXT kicks off one day and you hear boom, and Big AJ comes out with Big Justice. He's like, "Hey guys, what's up? I'm here because a while ago, me and Big Justice, we discovered a thing and we bought it. So we're here to give back Chase U and 5 big booms to Andre Chase."
Oh my
God. Could you imagine?
Well, I don't like the idea of bringing Chase U back. That's the problem. But I like the idea of him being on the show. But yeah, AEW, like I said, who could they have brought out? Like a star? Couldn't they brought out like freaking Peter Dinklage or somebody?
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, bring them all out. Bring a Cersei Lannister. Like, bring her out. Like I said on the show, bring them. I want all the stars of HBO on your show. Like I said.
That's true. Like, I mean, and here's the thing too. Like, Netflix, when it showed Vanessa Hudgens, what I noticed is that it said starring in Tick Tick Boom streaming on Netflix. So for the actors and celebrities they showed who had Netflix stuff, like Bill Simmons and whatnot.
Yes, Simmons had one, yeah.
They promoted that they had Netflix content as well. And it's like, I'm surprised that there was really no brand synergy like, look at me, I'm fucking Mark Shapiro over here.
Yeah.
Between Max, like it felt like Max didn't really do anything to hype this up to the level that Netflix did for Raw. Like Sting didn't come out and he wasn't like, and hey, we got David Zaslav up in the booth over there. Can we get it up for David, folks? And David's got his fucking replica title.
Yeah. Yeah, I want the stars of Game of Thrones. We want Sting. We want the HBO executives. We want the Turner Classic movie guy again. We want the stars, and they didn't deliver on the Max debut, unfortunately. One other note about Danielle, sitting next to her was Eric from Boy Meets World as well. Will Friedle, who's also a fantastic voice actor, by the way. Since he's become like a superstar voice actor since Boy Meets World. But the funny thing is, he wasn't. They didn't talk about him at all. Like they just keyed Danielle, and he was sitting next to her. But it's kind of funny if you listen to their podcast, Pod Meets World. That's exactly what Will Friedle said happens whenever they're together. He's like, I've never been recognized whenever I'm standing next to you. I'm talking about Danielle, and it was the same thing happened here. And they even did a segment with the New Day at the end, where they hyped it up on Twitter or whatever. And New Day walked up and was like, hey, dude, like, Danielle, what's going on? Like, I haven't seen you. How you been? What's going on? And Danielle's like, oh, what about the drink? And Woods was like, I didn't drink that or whatever. And then she just looked at him and said, New Day sucks. And Will was just like, she's right, And New Day was like, even Topanga? Even Topanga turned on us? It was very funny. I'm a big fan of all of this, for sure. So then that leads us to the women's title match. Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. I mean, it was... The thing is, this is another blow-off. To be fair, this is one of their biggest women's feuds. And, I mean, that was pretty much it. It wasn't really much as a match. It was just Ripley beating Liv and winning the title. That's all it really needed to be. It wasn't like a great match. But what they wanted worked. And also set up for Dominic to get kicked in the balls afterwards as well, which was the best part of all of this.
So they have Taker come out after, and I'm only skipping to this because imagine, how do you not have Darby in a spot like this on your fucking, like, I know they just wrote him off on the New Year's Smash show or whatever, but like imagine Darby in a spot like this on Dynamite, on Max, and afterwards you have Sting come out, he does his big moment, puts over Darby again. Like, it writes itself, and it's so fucking easy, and they have the tools, and they simply do not use them.
Yeah, that's the sad part. Is that's the thing. Like, AEW could be great with a lot of the stuff they're doing, but they choose to do other stuff for some reason. But yeah, like I said, the match was okay. I mean, you got Liv, she hit the three amigos. They got boos. I thought the commentary was so annoying here, where they were like, let me tell you right now, I know she's doing that move in tribute to Eddie, but it's not in tribute to Eddie. She's mocking his memory. And it's like, what does that have to do with anything? Just doing his move? Like, how did that mock his memory? I never understand why they do that. Like, oh, if somebody does the three amigos and it's a heel, it's like they're mocking his memory. How? Like, what? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But in the end, like I said, she got the. They gave her a good near fall where Dominic came out to distract, and that led to an oblivion onto the chair. It was a good near fall, but it didn't matter. She ended up hitting the riptide, and then picked her up and it hit the riptide again. A definitive blow off, as it needs to be. I'm not a fan of either of these two as women's champion. I know everyone loves Rhea and all that stuff. When she was champion, her title reign sucked. She never wrestled. She was always like stuck in.
Name one match she had, please. Like, exactly. I cannot remember.
The only one would be the match against Charlotte at WrestleMania. Like, everything else was like non sequiturs to everything, and she was just a Judgment Day storyline person. The title didn't matter at all. I hope that they do better this go around. And Liv was not any better. She also never wrestled barely. She had like one title match on the show. I don't know. But yeah, the feud's over. It was fine. The crowd loved it. And they especially loved the post-match with Dominic getting kicked in the balls and Undertaker coming out. It worked for what it was. It didn't really move me that much. And the Undertaker's appearance was totally random. I mean, I get it. He's the American badass or whatever. You got Ripley to do his pose at the end where she turned to the ring like he did. But I don't know. Like, they have no connection whatsoever. It didn't work for me, but the crowd loved it.
No, yeah, not for me.
Yeah. It was just, it would have been cool if they had a connection. Like you said with Darby and Sting, like if that happened, it would be great if Undertaker had a connection to somebody. But it wasn't Rhea. But it worked. And the match was, Liv is not a good wrestler, in my opinion. I think that she tries. I appreciate the effort. But this is not her ideal spot. They cut to a segment with Rock on his Instagram leaving the building, where he's like showing love to everybody. He's there with Heyman, Roman, Cody, and he's like, "Hey, I'll be at NXT tomorrow." And he's got this big bottle of tequila in his hand as he drives off. I don't know if that was smart to show, but whatever. They cut to Bill Simmons again. Vanessa Hudgens, as you mentioned. Vanessa Hudgens has to be like the biggest WWE fan. She was at a show like a week or two ago.
She was at SmackDown on Friday before Raw. Yeah, because it was in Phoenix, which was funny because I was like, oh shit. I just didn't go. I could have seen Tiffany win the title, which would have been cool, but I didn't want to go.
Man, like I said, these are all my people, man. Like this is Teenage Dylan's dream world that WWE's creative with Vanessa Hudgens in here too, on here. But yeah, she's like a super fan. All these people they showed are like legit fans. Like the ones that they showed are like super into stuff. Even Simmons, the only non-fan was Kay Adams. If you're a fan of NFL, you know her. And her whole Twitter all night was like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, what is what I'm watching? Like, she's like, this is awesome, but I don't understand any of it. So WWE made a new fan in her, at least, if you're a fan of, Good Morning Football. And then we get to Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre. This was a decent match. I thought it was nice that Jay got a big win here because he usually takes the fall of these matches. Drew gets to go like even more crazy after this. The match was like a 10-minute match. It was all right. Like Drew's a good worker. Jay's not great, but got through this. If you were to give this a letter grade, this would be like a B- or something like that. Like C.
I'm more with the cage match inmates on this one. I detested this match. I thought that Drew needed a very dominant win coming into the new year.
That didn't happen at all.
Losing to Jey Uso, like anytime I watch an Uso wrestle now, I think of the Carmelo Anthony tweet where he said, or not Carmelo Anthony, Carmelo Hayes, Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Is what I'm thinking about. Still thinking about basketball. Jimmy Butler's on my mind, everyone. Yeah, it's a hard time as a Heat fan. Carmelo Hayes said, let me wrestle an Uso. I have a counter for all 4 of their moves.
Yes, he did. That was very funny.
So, and Carmelo, this really was that. And like, I am just so profoundly allergic to the work of Jey Uso at this point, from the Yeet to just everything. Like, it's everything about his character turns me off.
What about Travis? What about Travis Scott at his entrance?
Oh, dude, that's the Netflix era image right there, baby. That's like, if you want an image that says we are in the streaming era, it's Travis Scott smoking weed, breaking the blunt seal in the Intuit Dome.
Okay, that was crazy. On there. They said his song is the new theme song of Raw here. Modern name type of guy to bring in here. So, it felt like a huge party, and Jay is good at that. It's just, and then the bell rings. With Jey Uso anytime. Like I said, I'd say a C. I said, but I didn't hate it, but it didn't move me one way or the other, really. It was like fine work. I like that they gave him a win. It was a surprise. But then again, Drew's way better than him, so I guess I would rather Drew have a dominant win when you really think about it.
Going into Mania season, like right now, day 1 of January, like that is Mania season, pretty much. Yeah. And it's like, who are you going to push more at Mania as a singles wrestler? I'm going to hope Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you're right.
I really think the Usos need to just go back to being a tag team. I'm not a Jay guy. And I completely acknowledge, though, he is over as fuck with the crowd.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just not for me.
And his storyline is super empty if the bloodline isn't doing anything. You know, like, he doesn't really have anywhere to go as a singles guy, ultimately. We'll see what happens next. What do you think about Memphis being the favorites to get Jimmy?
Dude, I'll be so jealous. I really hope he comes to the Suns.
Yeah.
I think that the Suns need a big switch up as well. I think that we can trade a couple of big people. It's got to happen.
And see,
we got Beal and Nurkic fucking benched right now, like indefinitely or something.
And see, I'm the opposite. I don't want us to trade for Butler. Like I said, I've seen him, when things go south, get out team after team, and our crew is so good right now. Like, we're the top 3 of the conference. Like, we could make a run.
I just tweeted #Jaw for Heat. So we're gonna try to bring him to the Heat.
That may be the final nail in the coffin. No one ever hears from me again. I go to the cave forever.
The cave. Not any cave, just the cave.
The cave. Yeah, it's much like we talked about with Will Friedle, just like plays with squirrels. That is going to be my big move going up. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Jimmy going forward. They play a video package with Gunther. He cuts a smug promo where he's like, "It may be a new era from everybody else, but not me. I'm still the best." So I don't even give a fuck.
This pissed me off so much, and I'm gonna be real here. I think with Gunther, since he has won his world title, has had about the same run that Okada's had with his continental title. He's such a fucking backseat player. It feels like he's never in the main program on Raw. And like the fact that the presence of the men's world heavyweight champion on Raw got a 45-second fucking video promo.
That's the same criticism I had for Okada. Like the same thing.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like it's the same thing as Okada for me. Like they did the same exact shit to him after winning World's End. Like, dude, Gunther should have had a match tonight. Are you kidding? Like, why did Jay Uso and Drew McIntyre have a match and not your world fucking champion?
I agree. I mean, and it should have been a dominant win. Like Gunther kills somebody in like 5 minutes, and like this champion is unstoppable. Like catch people's eyes, like if they're new to the audience or whatever. I agree. I mean, he was great in the video though. Like his promo was really funny, like really good. But I agree with you. It's like you give him a 1 minute video instead of a prominent segment. He should have been out there telling Bret Hart his favorite wrestler is Goldberg again. On here. They cut to Gabriel Iglesias backstage. New Day argues with him, and they're like, "You were never funny anyway." And they're all like, "Why? We've been trying to explain this thing with Big E for weeks, and no one lets us talk." And then suddenly, they're like, "We're out of time. Sorry about that. Like, we gotta go." And he's like, "What? Are you for real?" And so yes, they cut them off again. It's a convenient joke every week that they always run out of time before they can explain their side of the story with Big E. And then Alpha Academy's there, and they're like, "Hey, Gabriel Iglesias, what's up?" And Gabriel Iglesias is like, "Yeah, Tozawa, you're my guy." They're on there. So we do like
He's
Tozawa.
Like, man, you and Mochizuki 2013 Karakin Hall Dreamgate title match. Yes.
I don't know if he said that, but he should have. He should have.
Could you imagine if he pulled out like a Dragon Gate deep cut right there?
I would love that.
Sick.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm already a fan of his, so like I'm cool with this. So we definitely need more of that.
Vanessa Hudgens, have you seen Zona 23? If not, call me.
Please, God, please.
More wrestling out there.
How many times?
Introduce you to Sadika.
I'm not mad about this at all. Like, I really don't give a shit at all about this. But what I care about is how many times I've seen people complain about Kat Dennings getting run off by wrestling fans. that I don't want it to happen again because I'll see it a million times. I'll be reminded of it every week. Like that gets showed up. I don't care. like let her live her life. She's got a new show with Tim Allen. Let her do that. So I cannot handle it with Vanessa Hudgens if I get told that every week overall. So then we got Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. They're going on, and they're like, hey, you're the chief again. And he's like, oh, yeah, like, let's do this. And Reigns is like, let's do it on January 27th. My birthday, for the record. And they walk through a door, and the WWE 2K25 logo is on the back of the door. Which, by the way, 2K24's career mode, I'm a fan. I'm officially a big fan of what they did. They had a lot of fun stories, especially with the women's storyline. They really go outside they color outside the lines in that one. So they did good stuff there. And then a highlight of this whole show, in my opinion, Real American hits. The Mouth of the South comes out waving the American flag. Hogan cuts a pandering promo. And he's like, brother, I've had a lot of tag team partners over the years. Epic ones. Andre the Giant. Macho Man Randy Savage. But my best partner was you, the fans. And the crowd, boo. He got booed out of the building. This was fucking awesome. I love this whole thing. They booed him the whole time. He cut a lame promo promoting his beer, and he was talking about the fans. He did not pivot at all. It was sad, but it was awesome. Love it. Just so happy for the fans that they did that.
It was very cathartic. Fuck Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, for just a complete irredeemable, like, awful human being. So I'm very happy that the fans also recognize that. And I think this might be the end of the line for him in terms of live appearances. I think his future run is going to be all backstage, going ahead in video packages. That was great. They run down next week. They showed Lyra Valkyria and Dakota Kai in the crowd. Oh, also, I forgot to mention this during Jey Uso's entrance. They had damage control in the crowd. Okay, well, so Kyrie, by the way. But Io Sky was like going crazy like during Jay's entrance, and she had this big orange jacket on, so you could tell that it was her. And she was like totally like vibing with this entrance. I loved it. But they hyped up next week. They have the Intercontinental title match. They've got Kaiser and Sheamus. They got some big stuff coming next week, so they hyped that up. Love the new graphics too with the moving faces. That looks really like top of the line quality. Really cool stuff. Main event time though. CM Punk and Seth Rollins. They go in there early on. Seth is like telling the referee, he's like, "Don't you dare count us out. Let it ride." So they're like, no disqualifications or whatever on the fly. Seth hit the go to sleep a bunch of times on Punk, and then Punk, Seth basically dominated this match. He hit the stomp, he hit everything, and then Punk just hit the go to sleep. Seth fell against the ropes, wobbled, and then wobbled right back on his shoulders, so he hit a second go to sleep in a row. The Chick Magnet gets the win here. What do you think?
This was I would say a baseline good match.
Yeah, this was the best thing on the show, like pretty easily.
Yeah, in terms of wrestling for sure.
Yeah. In terms of wrestling, yeah.
Yeah, I thought first half was a little slow. Second half picked up. I wasn't a big fan of the finish. I thought that it looked like it's a little bit too over like the top and kind of like circumstantial. Like there wasn't anything impressive about the win to me. It was like he fell on him again.
Yeah.
And it was very like luck. And I felt like it needed to make more of a statement for either guy, whoever was going to win.
I agree
because this didn't feel like I won the big match on the show and now I'm going to go in the better direction for Mania. This felt like match one in a feud.
And none of their issues were resolved with this fluke win, pretty much.
No.
You know, and plus he did this exact same finish with Mox in AEW where he fell against the ropes and fell onto his shoulders again. And it sucked then.
Yep.
And let alone when Freakin' does it. I mean, the thing is, his selling is everything about him is over the top. Is the problem? You know, like there's no chill with him. And I wish that he would just like tone it down a little bit, because we've seen him when he cuts a serious promo, mainly against Punk, where you have real life segments. Like he could get through a promo and do all right. He could get through a match and do all right. This was a decent match. It wasn't a bad match at all. It was pretty good, like you said. But I think with him being who he is, I think that really hurts. You know, like I think it just, if he would just tone some stuff down, I think it would help his overall presentation a lot. If he could sell a little bit more, which he never does either, that would also help. But in some ways, that kind of helped the match because all of the stuff was like on Punk instead of him to sell. So, yeah, it was good, but it was far from a like blow off match. This epic match they had hyped it as. Like, you know, you wanted a war between these guys similar to Punk and Drew in the cell, and I don't think they reached that level at all. You could have used some blood here too. I would say, you know, like these guys should have just been throwing right hands at each other at the start.
Like Kenny and Gabe just square up.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's exactly how this should have gone, considering the ramifications of the feud. But in the end, he fell on top, and I mean, where do they go from here? I mean, we still got that favor Punk's owed from Heyman. It seems pretty clear that you were right about him and Reigns working together, like in the end.
Oh, I hope not, because one of my 3 predictions, remember, was that Punk doesn't wrestle or main event WrestleMania.
We need the final boss to put a stop to this. Gotten to enough.
Rock, come back.
Yeah, you need to tell him, like, Rock, your promo sucked on Raw. Like, you should be a heel. That's going to motivate him to fire up against you. But yeah, show ends pretty much right away. Rollins is bleeding a little bit from the eye, and he looks pissed, and that's how the show ends. And Punk is like talking about how great he is to the camera, as he is one to do, the chick magnet himself. What'd you think of the show?
Not good, but way more impressive across the board than Dynamite.
Yeah.
I would say that this was a fantastic show that ultimately was not for me.
Yeah, if you are like a diehard WWE fan, they gave you like everything you wanted here pretty much. And even though I didn't like a lot of the wrestling, there's no doubt they put more effort into having big time matches and making this feel like a changing, a new era is born like tonight.
Yeah.
The Dynamite was just a regular show, like ultimately. Like they didn't do anything to make it feel that special. And they should have learned something from this. And I can guarantee they didn't do a lot in Clarksville to make it feel special here. The fact that they even came was an unexpected surprise. And like I said, I already kind of regret not going, to be perfectly honest. But still, in terms of like making the show what it is, like I like too that before the main event they hype next week's show. They're like a new title's getting crowned. You're getting a banger match with Kaiser and Sheamus. You know, like they're setting some stuff up at least to get you to look forward to. I like that too. Will Hudgens be there again though?
She's the new green shirt guy. What if no would be fucking crazy? Imagine it's like you're watching the show and like it's hard cam and like as the match is going on, you see green shirt guy and he's standing next to Hudgens and he just takes his shirt off. He's wearing a shirt underneath, just the green shirt he takes off, and he hands it to Hudgens and she puts it on and she just sits in his seat and he just walks off. He's never fucking seen again. That would be crazy. That's an angle.
I mean, booking fan angles literally right now.
Meanwhile, Tozawa and Carmelo Hayes are having an absolute banger in the ring.
What if Zac Efron showed up to one of these shows?
I would be Okay.
He's got the connection with
No, they didn't. So neither company did anything with the Iron Claw guys, except
despite,
AEW did stuff with the Von Erichs, but in terms of the actors involved, no company did anything with either, right?
It's crazy. Why didn't they do that?
Maybe because everyone's like, it's sad as fuck.
Well, that is true. It is kind of a depressing storyline, but I mean, it was real. And the movie took some liberties with real life, to be honest with you. But it was the main story of it.
Okay, did you hear? Because I obviously the biggest ones, right, is like the fact that they removed one of the brothers.
Yes.
It's Chris, or like it's Chris and Mike or whatever. And when I read the director's statement and what he actually discussed with Kevin, made sense, where they talked about how Chris and Mike's stories were so fucking similar that their fear is that audiences, like, you can only do so much to an audience before they're like, okay, come on now, right? Where the thing that he kept running into was that with Chris and Mike, and I'm pretty, because it's Kevin, Kerry, David, Chris, and Mike, right?
Right.
Okay, so yeah, it's Chris and Mike, but they basically said that what they did was they combined both characters into that one role. So the character has mannerisms of both Chris and Mike, so that they could try to express the spirit of both brothers, but that there was no way for them to include like both deaths in the way, because they were like, it's making the audience believe less, and it's like kind of cheapening the drama almost, which is such a weird thing because that's the real fucking life, right?
Yeah, it's the real
story. In the adaptation, I just thought that was fascinating. And he actually got Kevin's blessing to do that. And that was in conversation with Kevin that they figured out that was the best way to honor them within like the constraints of the film, I guess. Because I was like, what the fuck while watching it? Because my number one thing I hate with wrestling films is just historical inaccuracies. Because it's so easy to not.
Well, there was a lot of that in the movie. I gotta say, at the end of the day, but I mean, it was a great movie for what it was. But there were some inaccuracies for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like, cage match rate these shows. Like their debut on the streaming era is here. What would you give Dynamite, and what would you give Raw?
Give Dynamite a 5.
Yeah.
That seems about 6.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the problem with Dynamite is nothing was special. Like, and the wrestling wasn't that much better, even though they had more of it.
The way that I'm actually going to give Dynamite a 4, and the way that I'm grading this is not as a weekly episode of television, but as your streaming debut.
Exactly.
I'll bump Raw up honestly to a 7.
I'll go 4 for Dynamite. I think Raw could have done some things differently for sure, but it did feel like an epic show for what it was. I'm kind of in the middle. I would probably go, like, if I could go like 5.5, that would be where I'm at. I'm a little lower on it than you, even though I agree with everything you said pretty much.
We'll allow the half score.
Like, there was so little action on the show. Like, it was just kind of boring to me, like, ultimately. And I like a lot of stuff they did was good. Like the celebrities and all that was great. Cena's promo was great. You had you had storylines moving forward with Roman and Solo blowing off. Seth and Punk. I don't know if that's a blow off, but at least it's a major match. Liv and Rhea blown off for sure now, pretty much. So they did a lot of stuff, but it just wasn't that exciting for me. And I think that's kind of a victim. Like, Dynamite was a less than stellar Dynamite, whereas this was like an average quality Raw with some bells and whistles. If I had to pick one, I think you swayed me to go up to a 6, I would say, of the two.
And that's like my objective rating. If I gave it on my own rating, it'd be much lower.
Yeah, that's just for the reasons we said. They could have had an epic show of their own if they wanted, but that was not the assignment tonight, unfortunately. All right. We've covered AEW. We've covered WWE. The streaming era is here. But there's one other player that you wanted to talk about, Nello. something that you've mentioned before, something that is close and near and dear to your heart, and something that took place in my home state of Tennessee, and that is ICW No Holds Barred 68. So, they are a company that is a deathmatch company. As we know, we've covered death matches plenty of times before with GCW and so on and so forth, and on Eastern Layer with me, Freedom's Big Japan. I've talked about that stuff before too. I've got knowledge. I'm not a rookie to the deathmatch game. I'm not as intricately involved in the indie scene as you are for sure, but I know what it's about, and I think we have to start off right away. What, like I said, with ICW, do you think that it's a vibe overall? Is the matches? What drew you to ICW originally?
They were, so this was ICW Volume 1 when they came back as No Holds Barred with the chains. It was the weekend of Wrestle Kingdom 2020. And it was just something that was debuting on IWTV. And we're all like, why not? The match card was like Tessa Blanchard versus Nick Gage. Masashi Takeda was on it, fighting, God, I can't remember, but someone random. Schlack versus Necro Butcher. Like, it was all just very out there. But it wasn't a deathmatch show because it was in New York. The next show, they come back 6 months later because COVID began, and they did something called the Deathmatch Drive-In. And on that show is when you had Akira debut and do his big spot where he jumps off the apartment building with the tubes under his back and does the senton on a Reed Bentley. But you had Casanova Valentine, Nick Gage, Eric Ryan, Alex Colon, Murdoch. All of the biggest deathmatch names were in ICW because it was one of two promotions pretty much running during that height of COVID. So I stuck with it because it was new content, and I really love death matches. And there was a lot of new guys coming through here that were interesting to me. Akira. God, like, I'm trying to think of who else. But that's all to say that, like, they are, like, when we say deathmatch company, they don't do non-deathmatch matches on their shows. Yeah. All 8 matches are death matches, and for better or worse.
Yeah, they do have like a gimmick right away with the no ropes. I mean, that's
yeah. And so when we say no ropes, there are things encasing the ring. They're just metal chains instead.
Yes. Yeah, they are chains. Yeah. That is important to bring about here. But I like it. It gives them like a gimmick, pretty much to bring about. So right away, the first thing that happened on this show, and I couldn't believe this. Dylan Hales, who was on commentary, and I knew that he did stuff with IWTV, which is where you can find it, independentwrestling.tv, if you would like to watch the show and engage in many other indie promotions out there. But I didn't know he was the commentator. And I have to say, the thing is, this will completely depend on what vibe you're looking for. If you want like intricate breakdowns of moves and psychology and then, storyline, like there was none of that here. Like the first thing he says, him and the other guy he was with, I don't know who that is. I'm looking it up right now in Cage Match. Jack Solomon. With all due respect to you, Jack Solomon, I apologize. But Dylan and Jack, they were on there. The first thing we see is Atticus Kogar coming out, who is their champion, by the way, the American Deathmatch champion. And the first thing we said is, let's hear from this asshole who has our belt. And so Kogar cuts a promo. He's like going crazy in his Atticus Kogar ways. Like if you're familiar, you probably get where you're coming from here. And he's like, I got to do this now. And here comes his opponent, Cody Manhorn. I'm pretty familiar with Kogar. Manhorn was a... Yeah.
The gimmick here, the reason why Kogar was so pissed off, Cody Manhorn is primarily known as Shiny Shoes, ICW's referee.
Excellent.
So he also wrestles on the side, mainly in Tennessee, I believe, like TWE and stuff. So Atticus was basically saying, this guy is not worthy of the main event. I'm not going to wait here or whatever is what he said, even though he comes out in the main event. But yeah.
That's right. He did come out.
That was pretty much the story. He just thought this guy was so below him that he just had to beat him in the opening match.
And it worked. Like the match itself told like that story pretty explicitly, I would say. Like you don't have to be super into it to kind of feel that going in there. And like obviously, Shiny Shoes, as he may be, I prefer to be called. First of all, I don't blame him for not wanting to be there. Red Bank, Tennessee. Like I said, like why would you want to stay there more than you have to? For the record, I am born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, all the way on the other end of the state. This is like near the mountains. Like East Tennessee is where the moonshiners and all that crap were in the past. Like I said, like that's where the East Tennessee people are. I'm practically in another universe on my side of the state. I just want to point that out. But yeah, you can see this crowd. I mean, it was like this building, like it looked like a basement somewhere, pretty much. Like totally grungy, but in a good way. Like it's good because it fits what this promotion should be. This promotion should not have Macaulay Culkin and Vanessa Hudgens at it, in my opinion. Although that would be kind of awesome.
If you imagine they do like the fucking ringside stuff, which celebrities would be here? It's like Tom Hardy, front row. He's like, I like fighting.
I think so. Look at that impression. Your impression game is immaculate once again. No, I want to point that out. But Shiny Shoes he may be the referee, but he actually wrestled good in this match. Like I thought, like for what they're going for. And obviously, like the crowd was all behind him. Kogar was being a maniac like here. Like he played like a very good, like I want to beat the shit out of you type of heel.
Primarily, like Kogar's spots were just like each spot he did on Manhorn is like it ends a match normally. I felt like he did a concerto by putting not just like he did a concerto, but he put Cody's head through the ladder instead of a chair, and then he smashed it with the chair. Gusset paddle to the arm, forcing the ref to tie up Cody's arm mid-match.
Yep, that was crazy.
Air raid crash onto the corner platform. So in ICW,
that might have been one of the biggest ones.
That was insane. And, we saw something similar in the Redacted and Patrick's match. And what I was impressed by is how easily, like how fluid they were able to sort of work together on this platform when the other two guys, it was so cartoonish. But he like in the corners, they don't have turnbuckles that you hop onto. They pretty much just have like a fucking 2-foot wooden slat that like goes above the corner, and he air raids crashes him like directly onto this. It was gnarly. Like Cody gave me Jeff Hardy vibes in this.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about like remember when Shane and Kurt Angle had their match at King of the Ring?
Yes.
That they had a similar thing, a platform on the top for to let him do a shooting star in. Here, and that's and he kind of wrestled like Shane actually. Now that I think about it, like this guy who would put his body on the line with no regard for his own safety type of deal. Jeff Hardy, a good comparison point here. Kogar was good here. I thought this was like a really good start to the show here. For again, like when you enter this world, you know what you're getting into. Like there's no way you could confuse this for anything other than what it is. Just like grungy ass, like country ass Fight Club that we have here. Again with the commentators and all. Again, to be honest with you, even though I consider him a friend in the online world, I have to be honest. I thought the commentary was a little much at times. Like it was too fucking relaxed. For any other promotion, but for this show, I think it like that. Again, that's the vibe, right? Overall, so you can't really criticize it. But yeah, this was good. This is a good opener, good title match. It didn't go too long. Told an easy story. I was into it.
Yeah, no, like I gave this one 3.5. I rate on this is my ICW scale. This one's a 3.5. I'm looking at this as their streaming debut for 2025 as well. You start off with your world champion in a match, one of your favorite fan-faced baby faces. Like ICW is very good at like it's their own little like inside universe or whatever, right? Where it's like someone like Shiny Shoes who doubles as Cody Manhorn, because I think even one of the commentators was like, that's not Shiny Shoes, like trying to play off like he's a different guy or whatever. But it's like these very like in-universe things where I think it's just so cute and funny, and I'm very appreciative of it. But yeah, skewers in the head, brain hemorrhage on the tubes to finish it. Something I appreciated here, and that I think Atticus is very good at in death matches, is, and something that we see a lot in every other match, they didn't use glass until the final spot. They were very intelligent about the weapons they introduced. They didn't do a lot. It was more so just big spots. Like we said, the power spots. And I like how they built up to the first tube spot rather than just kicking off the match with them.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, and one little detail I liked a lot actually, is after Atticus leaves, the cameras go back to Cody in the ring and he kicks out. Like probably a good 45 seconds after he's been pinned, he does the kick out, and then the referee tells him, you lost, dude. And then that's when he realizes. But I was like, you don't have to do that shit, right? But the fact that he did that and was thinking about that, I really appreciate it. Because we talked about Takeshita doing that on the, just at wrestlers in general, but Takeshita did that on the, God, I think it was Full Gear or whatever, in the triple threat, where he kicks out even though he's not getting pinned.
Yeah.
Love that stuff. The little details.
Absolutely. So then we had a tag team match. You've got the Pillars versus KOBK. What do you know about these four gentlemen here?
So the Pillars are your like fan favorite tag team. ICW historically has not done tag team matches. The Pillars really got them to start doing them, which is awesome because you need something to break up the single stuff. Yeah. Tommy Vendetta, the lovable psychopath. I was actually very excited for this match because I wanted to propose something that I think could actually work really well.
Yeah.
But imagine if NXT introduced a hardcore title and hardcore division, and they brought in dudes like your Akira, your Tommy Vendetta. Like I'm talking legit fucking hardcore and deathmatch dudes, because they're all young guys. Like deathmatch guys are either in their 40s or in their 50s now, or they're like in their 20s. Like I'm talking bringing Daiju Wakamatsu. Like I feel like NXT could actually have a legit hardcore division, and for whatever reason I think it would fit on their show and not on any other show.
Yeah, and I think like the same, I think they try to go with that idea, like a soft core version of it with like the underground stuff, like something we can't really put on mainstream TV, and they tried it and it sucked. But they like to do something very different. I honestly think if Ring of Honor had a division like this, that would work. That would be like a totally way to differentiate them from AEW and let them have their own identity again.
Because I think a lot of these guys are good characters and they can do like good, like hard, like if you're doing one hardcore match on a show versus 8, it's a lot different.
Exactly.
So, and that's to say though, but like I feel like your people like Akira and stuff like that are never typically going to get signed. But I think there is such a value to creating a hardcore division in a company and like actually monopolizing on this influx of talent that you currently have with these young guys.
What about Darren McCarty?
Dude, so
what the fuck?
I was actually going to text you about this.
Yeah.
Tommy Vendetta grew up without a dad. He wound up finding out, this is to the best of my knowledge, so if I fuck it up, my apologies. He found out that Darren McCarty was his dad, so he reached out to him and they did a paternity test, and it turned out Darren McCarty was his dad. At this point, Tommy was already a deathmatch wrestler, so pretty much as long as Tommy's been in like ICW, Darren McCarty started accompanying him at some point, and he's never stopped. He comes out with him every match.
This is insane to me because I played Like I played with this guy in like NHL games when I was a kid, like very small child. Like I remember playing with him on the Red Wings, and it's like he's now a deathmatch wrestler. What?
Yeah, the
Like,
Pillars, Malcolm Monroe III, Tommy Vendetta being accompanied by 4-time Stanley Cup champion, just casually throwing that out there.
yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, like he's not like a geek player. Like he was a main. Like I mean, his whole gimmick in the hockey was that he was a brawler.
Yep.
He was like the enforcer.
But yeah, now I'm pretty sure that he runs a weed company. Because he used to just bring out bags of weed on the shows and like wave them at the camera. So, and I know like during all of like the IWT Life Hubs, whenever they do like wrestlers backstage, like Darren McCarty is always just giving people weed for free. So he seems to be a very well-off, kind, sharing gentleman.
Well, like I said, but
former goon.
Yeah, it's that he was a legendary goon in the NHL, so he's doing his thing.
It's fun because he always comes out. They do hard-hitting matches. KOBK, they're like your Tennessee faction. Akira's also in it. There's another person I can't remember. God, I'm trying to think. Who is
Akira's
it?
Not from Tennessee.
It is Brett Eisen. Oh, Akira's not in it actually. Brett Eisen is also in it.
Okay.
But yeah, they are like your stiff strikers. As you can see, they really value their gear. Sean Campbell came out dressed like a fucking dishwasher, and the commentary guy literally said, "Dude, Dylan said I don't think he has gear." When he came out.
That was a shoot. That was a shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this was like a fun little brawl here. It didn't really move me too much. Also, I do want to say, I always say when we do these indie shows, take my opinions with a grain of salt. You are the one that people should listen to. In this case, take it with a really big grain of salt because I have been so fucking sick the last week and a half. It's been crazy. It's a miracle on the show.
I felt bad that I was like, I hope Dylan's not like hating this while being sick, and why it's like I'm so sick and I'm having to watch goddamn ICW. Like,
I feared that it may get there, but I did not feel that way. Actually, to be honest. But it was like a decent brawl, and I couldn't believe my eyes at McCarty. Like I said, I kind of like the thing is with the commentary, the fans were like nuts, like the rabid indie,
this
country
audience.
fans.
I was gonna say was more lively than recent AEW audiences. I swear to God.
Easily.
And this audience, for watching at some point the 5th death match that was pretty much the same in a row at a certain point, they never lost energy ever.
See, you just said my problem with the show. It's not that I hated it; it's that it was kind of the same stuff. like you can only skin a cat so many ways.
These shows can typically hit their peak halfway through, and it's for a very specific reason.
Well, let's we're about to talk about that because the peak of the show had to have been.
Real quick. Wanted to shout out in the Pillars match. Very cartoonish though. I liked when it devolved into the chicken fight. Both guys put the smaller guy on their shoulders, and then they have McCarty come in, and the referee is a larger gentleman like myself. And McCarty goes to put him on his shoulders and totally crumbles at first. And Tommy has to help him get him on the shoulders. They finally get him up, but I just thought that was crazy funny. There was a really beautiful elbow drop, though, by Campbell, I thought, that he hit out of nowhere. Pillars win with a double team like Winds of Change that I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, like you said, it was very cartoonish. I gave this one 2 stars. I thought that if you switched this and the Redacted and Dale Patrick's matches, that would have been way better, because I think this could have come later in the show. You didn't really use glass. You could have used some comedy to split stuff up. But we'll get there.
So the next thing I see, we see somebody walk out in like Kiss makeup here.
The Rev.
Yes, not from Avenged Sevenfold fame. So they're going on about it. It's like he says something like, "It's time for some redneck Satanism," and I was like, "What?" And like I got like shivers, because like these are the kind of people I've seen before. Like whenever I left Memphis and went up north to Clarksville and stuff. Like, these are the kind of people that are around. Like, people who are these weirdos like into crazy shit. And we saw it here as Nathan Mowry took on Hoodfoot. And Hoodfoot came out and got a great pop. The first thing that happened was,
real quick, sorry. Hoodfoot came out to new music.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. They said this isn't the right music.
Okay, and so it's DTP by Inner Peace. This was one of my favorite hardcore albums to come out in 2023. Okay, I want to spit some facts here real quick. This is not a popular band as far as I know. Inner Peace was a band, like, I listened to about 800 albums, hardcore albums. I love hardcore music just that year, from that one year. Inner Peace has 1,000 monthly listeners. That's it. I made a Masashi Takeda versus Asami Kodaka highlight video set to this fucking song and uploaded it to YouTube a year ago. Mm-hmm. I am convinced that Mo Atlas Hoodfoot found my video because he was like, I want to watch some fucking Takeda Kodaka highlights, because I know he is a big Japanese head and he loves great fucking professional wrestling. And Dylan, I realized my dream is to get Hoodfoot on this show for an interview. I think that's my new Wrestle Update dream. But he came out to this and I was like, dude, I think that I may have connected these worlds. This is me selfishly speaking, but I'm like, I could totally see him discovering that song from that video. So I gotta figure this out and find out if that's what happened, because this is one of my favorite songs. I stood up and started like stomping it around my room like I was at a hardcore show. I was like, I got so fucking hyped. I literally screamed Hoodfoot. I was like, this is my mania, dude. This is my WrestleMania.
And I like that they pointed it out right away. Because somebody, I forget who said it, but one of the commentators was like, that's not the right music. Like,
yeah.
And then Hoodfoot came out and proved them wrong at the end. So this match was nuts. First of all, Hoodfoot totally has, like, he's the presence guy on these shows. And the Killbilly, he also had a little bit to him. He was like raging out on his entrance. You had the satanic guy who was the Rev as his manager. And he's coming out. And they're doing their match, and suddenly the thing that stuck out to me about this match more than anything else is when he grabbed the deer horns or whatever he had, and he started stabbing Hoodfoot with the deer horns, and they were going on and on about it on commentary. It was like, this is what, like, you know, they've used this for centuries in cults to do stuff. I was like, what? He was going on and on.
He's talking about cryptozoology.
Yeah. And we went full circle, right? You know, I mean, I don't think Bigfoot has a cult to his name. I don't want to disrespect anybody if you are a member of the cult of Bigfoot.
We've gone from the Bigfoot to the Hoodfoot, folks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hoodfoot, I mean, this was a cryptozoology level match, I would say. So the blood was just going nuts here. I just thought, man, I can't believe I'm watching this, first of all. But I did like it. At the end of the day, this was a bona fide hoot of a death match.
So I took notes for this one.
Okay, give us the notes.
Murdoch. Yeah. So we total plunder start. Staple guns. We're going back to the staple gun, even though they just did it in the Tommy Vendetta match. Remember how we always talk about you need a board in the back and you need to write who's doing what in each match? Yeah. They would have had such a fight backstage. No, I'm doing the fucking staple gun spot where I'm stapling the clothes to their body as they did in every single match. But it was more exciting in this one because they did it first. They start drinking beers from the crowd. They're smashing beers over each other's heads. Then they start to take out tubes. They pretty much, like, the main place that these guys fight the entire night is in front of the ring on the outside. And it's just this small group of fans just standing along this wall who pretty much got all the bloodshed and carnage. But Mowry takes out tubes, breaks them on Hoodfoot, and then starts eating them. That made me scream for the first time. Anytime I scream, I go, ah! That's like a star rating for me.
That's an automatic +1 star to any match.
Oh, yeah. Hoodfoot comes back. He hits him with a beer again. He goes to cheers a fan with their beer. And the fan cheers him and then Hoodfoot knocks their beer out of their hand, though. I thought it was really fucking funny. And then the fans like freaking out. They don't know how to clean it up. Chair shots to the head, very unprotected. There's chances of CTE, which is very inappropriate.
Hey,
crowd is fucking hot, dude.
Oh,
like
this
crowd is hot. The glass is getting covered in blood before it even breaks. Yeah. So like he's picking up light tubes, and the light tubes are just covered in blood, and they're just still bundled. This is my first time.
Him with the thing he pressed against the shoulder, like the thing with the nails in him. On there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So like this was my first time seeing Maori. All deathmatch guys typically have a signature weapon. He came out with the bone saw. So he takes the bone saw and just drags it across Hoodfoot's face back and forth. And then Hoodfoot gets carpet strips, hits fucking Maori in the head with them. They get tangled in Maori's hair. So what does Hoodfoot do? He Jeff Jarrett struts on top of Maori's hair, tangled in the carpet strips. That was charisma. And then, of course, Hoodfoot very naturally, and this is when I was like, I cannot wait to talk to Dylan about this. This is absolutely the highlight of the show. So Hoodfoot starts asking for a cigarette, and immediately I'm like, oh my God, he's going to put a cigarette out on this guy. So he does. He puts a cigarette out on Maori's head. He then starts covering Maori in lighter fluid all on the legs. And this is always one of my least favorite spots because deathmatch dudes' hands are always so fucking bloody. They should be the last person to use a lighter because they're just getting it wet. They're ruining the wick, whatever it is. So Hoodfoot's trying to light him on fire. It just doesn't work. He throws the lighter out. So Hoodfoot starts just working over Maori because you can kind of tell he's like, okay, the spot didn't work. I got to pivot. And like about 10 seconds into like this new thing where he's just working over Mario on the floor, you hear this fan off screen chant or just yell, bring him over here. And dude, Hoodfoot looks over, the camera pans over, and you just have a fan standing up with a lighter lit. Hoodfoot drags over Maori. The fan reaches into the ring and lights Maori on fire himself. He does not hand Hoodfoot the lighter. He lights the fucking wrestler on fire. And then Maori gets up and drop kicks Hoodfoot on fire. Much like Keno hitting the flaming kick to Muto in a classic nod that ICW always does. Brilliant stuff. Then they start bumping through barbed wire. Barbed wire gets stuck so badly in Maori's hair, and Maori just rips it out. Ouch. Southside Flosion through another flaming barbed wire table to end it. I mean, on the boom scale, this is 5 big booms. On my pro wrestling scale, Dylan, this is my first 4-star American match of the year.
Look at that. The thing is, that's part you mentioned about the fan coming in with a lighter.
That was one of the most unhinged things. I've never seen a fan light a wrestler on fire.
Well, and the thing is, with any other company, I would be like 100% convinced that was a plant. Like it meant to be that way. And this ICW No Holds Barred, there's this potential believability that this just happened. Like I could totally buy one of the fans doing this in this insane arena that we're in, and them going along with it.
Dude, like, that commentary was so great too. They're like, we have to kick that guy out. They were like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That was awesome. That was hilarious. Like, for sure.
I just want to say this has a great cage match rating so far, and I actually haven't done any of them. So this has a straight up 8 average.
Look at that.
This reminded me of like early 2000s CZW. Like the most amount of weapons that you can imagine, and they start by like, you got staple gun, beers, barbed wire, but then what they start doing in the end is they start combining them all. Flaming barbed wire table, tubes with the fucking carpet strips, all this stuff. And it was just so hyper unsafe. I loved it.
It was very unsafe. Yes.
Hoodfoot goes over big as fuck in the new year, and Maori gets Kill Billy chance afterwards too. He gets that rub where he stays in the ring, and everyone chants for him. Rightfully so. This was my first ever time seeing him. Dude, this match went almost 20 minutes. Like, I'm like,
the Kill Billy.
If you put this on a Freedom show or something, like, this would go nuts.
Yeah, this was insane. Like, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This was completely fucked up, and
I will never feel like I will bring up this match when we talk about the end of the year. I guarantee it. Like, this match will stick with me.
The Killbilly has won you over completely.
And like, this is something that I really like about ICW though. It's like Nathan Mowry is the perfect example. Never seen him before, never fucking heard of him. Now he comes on ICW, makes a huge splash, and I'm sure I'm going to start seeing him on these shows almost as a regular pretty soon. Like, he reminds me a lot of, for any people out there who watched old ICW, Ruben Steele made a big impact, the satanic Hispanic.
Another satanic person.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, kindred spirits there. But I always get excited for like these random debuts. It's just like, okay, cool, welcome to the circus.
How many of these devil worshippers are in deathmatch right now?
I feel like there's a lot of deathmatch wrestlers who are sober. There's a lot of deathmatch wrestlers who are Satanists, and there's a pretty big crossover between the two as well.
Interesting. Interesting way to look at things. But yeah, this match was nuts. Love the stuff with the deer horns and whatever was there. Obviously, things went insane, like I said, at the end. But still, yeah, Mowry definitely impressed. I think he's an up-and-coming deathmatch guy, for sure. Up next are not up-and-comers, but people who have been around for a long time. John Wayne Murdoch versus Danny DeMonto. Yeah. So I'm pretty familiar with John Wayne Murdoch. I thought that it was a crazy brawl. The stuff they did with the board was sick, to be honest with you. I love the spot where he just... Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. Go on. I know you want to talk about it.
No. Please. No. I just got excited.
So yeah, like, the stuff with the gusset board was crazy. The way they used the blood as like a visual aid to the match, where like they would do something and it seemed like it would just perfectly come down to where it would roll down a guy's arm or a back or something like that. I thought that John Wayne Murdoch is very much one of the guys who are kind of the kingpins of the deathmatch scene. Danny, he's a guy who's clearly had an age on him, and I just felt like this was like a grizzled brawl that turned like the violence level increased the longer the match went along, and it kept going along at the end there. So it was big, but I will say that, like I said, after the last match, I think we're getting into the point where it's like, okay, like, I'm kind of desensitized to all this violence that you're bringing, and I think that's kind of a main draw to a show like this, is that you need to have shocking levels of violence. And I think after what we saw with the previous match, it was really hard to kind of follow that in an effective way. But I thought they did a good job with it. Like, if you were, I don't think this is the right way to describe this, but if you were to grade it as a technical death match, I think it was good. But I do think, for me watching, the last match kind of stole the show a little bit from them.
No, I completely agree. And but I think that this, in many ways, was the main event of the show, and I think that this is where it peaked for me. I would say that your first match was inventive and had a very clear pro wrestling story of face and heel, told very well. Second was cartoonish. It had its own identity. Third, Hoodfoot Mowry was like, you're absolute. We're going to just be as violent as possible. This is a death match. We don't need a story, right? This one, to me, was emotional as fuck. The background here being that the last time John Wayne Murdoch spoke about ICW was over a year ago, and he said the best thing you can do is never buy my shit from him. Like, Murdoch was the guy that built this company on his back and wound up leaving because of issues with Danny DeMonto. So going into this, for weeks, DeMonto had been building it up as Danny DeMonto versus X. And like, how often is X really never that big? And it's ICW, so like my expectations are pretty fucking tempered. But also, like, in the world of pro wrestling, it's like certain people burn bridges with certain companies and you figure that it is irreparable, right? This to me was like CM Punk showing up in WWE. Murdoch back in ICW is my mania. Like, that was the coolest shit ever. I fucking freaked out. I was so hyped. And to me, I was like, this match had emotion because you knew that they were working out real life shit when they were fighting each other in this match, and that they both demanded something and expected something of each other. Something I just wanted to shout out to when this match started. I'm always impressed by Bobby Banks, the ring announcer. Not only is he a diehard wrestling fan, he's a pretty damn great ring announcer as well. Very, very passionate. The gusset plate board was gnarly. DeMonto smacks Murdoch with it, and dude, he got his back from the bottom of his neck to like right above his ass. Every single spot on his back you could imagine was cut in some way. It was, like you said, just what a visual. Dude, he did the thumbtack jack spot with the fish hook through the mouth or the safety pin or whatever through both. He did it through both cheeks. And I was like, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, Murdoch is giving DeMonto a lot. Like, he just let him do that to him, right? Like, he is like, okay, this is a real ass match. Like, I'm getting into this. Duke's back is just fucking serrated. It is incredibly bloody. And especially like when a Takeda, a Murdoch, a Kasai, these dudes whose backs are like incredibly scarred, when their backs bleed like this, I'm like, damn, they really got cut. They start trading shots with the gusset boards. Duke judo throws Danny off the top into a chair with tubes. Double stomp through a glass pane onto Murdoch, which was fucking brutal. And Danny like killed him stiff with it. It was a Kenta double stomp. Duke kicks out though. They start exchanging tubes. They bring out the knife board. They start doing cutters onto the knife boards. Duke drop kicks DeMonto's back of the head through a glass pane. 2 brain busters onto a chair. Submission to end it. I liked that a submission ended this match. It felt more personal, more intimate. I think that Murdoch needed to choke Danny out in order to come back to this company. Truly the ace of ICW is back. And if you don't mind, I'd like to share the promos after.
Absolutely.
So Murdoch cuts a promo after, and this will contextualize a lot as well. And I am paraphrasing somewhat here, but he says to DeMonto, "You said I priced myself out WrestleMania weekend. I built this place since day one. I put my bump card on the table, said I'll do anything, use me, abuse me. People talk shit about me because I put over women. People say homophobic things about me. But you can all question whether this Murdoch can come back here and still do this here. I'm back and I can still do this better than anyone here. You did everything you promised. You paid me and you gave me the best damn death match I've had in a long time. As far as I'm concerned, that shit's squashed. And I may not be here every show, but every motherfucker up back there better step up." Danny grabs the mic, and Danny, in classic Danny fashion, says, "Someone online recently said that if you go to a gas station and buy a bottle of water, it's 50 cents. If you go to the deli, it's $2. It sounds like I'm making this up, but this is real. If you go to the grocery, it's $7. And if you go to a concert, it's 10. You need to be a $10 bottle of concert water, and you prove that because you are the best American deathmatch wrestler in this country, and I value you, and so do all these people." I loved it. This like could have ended the show straight up. I would have been totally fine here. Like this match, and I like, for me, is like a diehard, had emotion, and I think that was the missing ingredient for the past few matches. After this, I kind of felt like they did it all on this show.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, that really tells a great story right there. Again, like, you could tell these stories in these matches like that. It's a shame that it wasn't the main event, but they had a Dr. Redacted promo to get to afterwards as well. So yeah, so he comes out. And Dale Patricks is up there. Now, I'm pretty familiar with him because he wrestled in Big Japan not that long ago.
He's in Big Japan for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he had like an extended stay in Big Japan. And so Redacted, he's kind of like a babyface promo. And as soon as he turns around, he smashes him in the head with 2 light tubes. And then Dylan Hales on commentary was like, "I knew it. I knew he was going to do that." They bring up with the chain, the chair. It's a death match. This one, I mean, I looked at the cage match, and this one was shorter than all the other matches. And I think this was meant to be like the break match, kind of. You know, like the match that was, yeah.
Which was weird because Redacted and Patrick's just came back from Japan. So to me, like, this was a pretty big match on the card. Like, probably like in terms of like, because Redacted's his stock has risen up a lot. He's on the GCW a lot of the time now. He's going to be in the Hammerstein fucking ladder match. Like, he's a big player now in the deathmatch scene. So, and as far as I could remember, this was a first time meeting as well. I was so disappointed by this match. They did not have good chemistry. They did another top corner spot, just like Atticus and Cody did. And it was so awkward. They both got up there and then they realized that they had to switch positions. So they just stand in front of each other and do the most awkward little baby foot shuffle. And then it was just very stilted, very artificial, I thought. Pretty much everything they did, you would just see it. Like, this is when it really started getting a bit, redundant for me as well. Really bad choke slam. I felt like a lot of the stuff that they did just in general, the big spots just did not come off looking well. Was one of my biggest things. It was like the Wrestle Kingdom 4-way ladder match. It was like they did the big spots, they just didn't look great.
Even the smaller spots, like there was this part early on where, like, Patrick's invites him to do like a strong style, quote unquote, strike battle. They were doing like forearm strikes and stuff like that. And Redacted ended up hitting like a German suplex at one point. And I was like, I don't know, man. It's nothing personal, but if I'm seeing Dr. Redacted, I want to see some crazy stuff, Like, I don't want to see technical wrestling in here or Japanese style wrestling going in there. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. For what it was. They got in and got out. But I will say that, like, what you said is true. Like, you had the spot where he tore the door off the corner and like put it between the two chairs and stuff. But it was like you said, there was nothing really original about this match. I think this is where the show started to drag for me a little bit.
Also, sorry, no, please finish. I keep cutting you off.
No, it's okay. I was about to finish up anyway, but so go
on. Like, not only was this short, but we had just seen, because Hoodfoot and Mowry 19 minutes 4 seconds, Murdoch to Monto 18 minutes 57 seconds. We basically just saw two 20-minute matches back to back. So you can't do that again. But like, this match ended with a frog splash onto a barbed wire board when you just saw dudes kick out to knives, fire, glass, all this other shit, to where it just felt like these guys were a level below is how the match was structured as well. Like, they never got to hit that insane level or anything. Like you said, you would have seen insane shit with Dr. Redacted. And I thought, like, this was the worst match that these two were probably capable of having with each other.
Wow. So then,
but they were in the hardest spot on the card too. I will say that they had the hardest spot.
Yeah, after what happened before. So they got out, did their thing. I thought it was okay. Then we got a reappearance of the Rev as he comes out with the deer head or whatever. He's managing Tank for this match, who I didn't associate as like any kind of satanic guy, but whatever. He's taking on one called Manders here. A very popular indie guy, like at this point, like everybody knows Manders, I think, at this point.
I was very surprised by this matchup, but then I got excited once I saw them standing at it, like staring at each other. I was like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, like two beef guys.
Just had to shout out Tank's shirt. Did you read it?
Strong Style Psycho.
And then on the back it says till the bloody end, 1997 to 2017. So he's wearing his retirement tour shirt from 7 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the most indie wrestling deathmatch old head shit I've ever seen, dude.
That's awesome. I didn't see that on the back of it at the very end, but I love it. So what did you think of this match here? Again, two big guys. Tank obviously bigger than Manders. Manders and his genes that he brought out here.
I thought that they did enough differently to make it exciting again for me. They got the benefit of going a little bit longer than Redacted and Dale Patrick Scott, but the use of the thumbtack bat in this match was crazy, and like I wish that they took their shirts off so you could see them throughout the match, but like anytime they got hit with the thumbtack bat, like it would make a legit, like Dylan or the commentator literally said, it's a cluster. And it would literally, like, perfectly, every thumbtack would come off the bat and go in their skin, and they would look like full circles of just made of thumbtacks.
Yeah.
Tons of shoot headbutts. Like the 10th bar fight of the night where they set down the two chairs and sit on them and then start fighting across from each other. Like that was probably the most egregious thing to me, was them doing that spot over and over.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny when they get the two beers and like they're gonna fight with the beer and they go to like sip from it and Tank sips it and then Manders chugs like the entire tall boy, forcing Tank to beat him up while he's drinking it. Tank wins with the choke breaker, which I was surprised. Tank's getting pushed in 2025. I guess it's about time till the bloody end, Let's keep it going till 2027. Fuck it.
10-year anniversary of my retirement.
Yeah.
We got some cowbell in this match too.
That's true. They started off with the cowbell.
Yeah. See, so like that, like you said, they did it. Well, yeah, of course, it's Red Bank. Okay, well, that's what you need to remember. By the end, they were fighting onto the outside stuff. There's a segment where, like, because you're so close to everybody, he was like crawling around everybody and bleeding all over people's shoes, I think, like Manders was, because he was a bloody mess there. So it was a crazy match. And I just think that this show, like I said, I was kind of like, okay, this was all right. Like, I'm not disparaging these guys, but I was kind of like, I had kind of had my fill heading into the main event. I do have to say.
No, so fair.
But we weren't done yet because we had Bobby Beverly to get to. Taking on Otis Kogar here. And I was just like, man, what is this match going to be? Going into it. And by the end of it, and I think maybe it was the show itself, maybe it was the match itself, but I was like, huh. Like, this is ICW. I watched this show. I see what it's about. I saw these guys smash light tube after light tube onto each other. And these guys here, they were like, because there was a spot in the Dale Patrick's match, and were redacted, where like one guy would grab a light tube, smash it over his head, then the other guy would grab a light tube, smash it over his head.
Mm-hmm.
And in the main event, they were just like, screw that. I'm going to grab like 3 light tubes and throw them at him.
It was very Kobayashi.
Yeah. And, they went at it. You had the bat again here, the bats with the freaking thumbtacks and all that, which
dude, and Otis was filled back, shoulders, elbow, head like, everywhere. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shiny head.
Yeah, like they went nuts with the thumbtack bats here. Like that was their like big moment, their big spot here. I feel like. What do you think of the choice for this as the main event on the show?
I mean, I see why they did it narratively. I think that if you would have flipped this show, like it would have been better. All of your matches on the back end are shorter than your matches on the front end anyway. I think if you had that pillars match and then you build up, I just think it would have worked better. But it allowed Atticus to come back. I actually hated pretty much all of the bloodline shit they did in this. All of the storytelling stuff they did. I thought it just made no sense. Whose idea
was that?
Definitely Atticus's. It's got to be.
I was hoping you would. I was hoping you would like kind of talk us through this and like make sense of it. But it sounds like you didn't like it either.
No, like basically, Bobby Beverly was also 440 with Atticus, with Otis. There's been a faction implosion. Atticus is champion. Bev is kind of backed away from them now. So, it's Otis, Kogar's brother and faction member, or faction partner, versus the former faction partner and best friend, Bobby Beverly. So that's why he's also, yelling at him in the match. I loved you guys. You never have my fucking back. All this stuff, right? But like, it just didn't make any sense, right? So, I'll go through what I have real quick. We got a Michinoku driver onto a crucifix tube contraption that was pretty cool. Otis works over Bev's head with the razor. Saito on the floor, which was pretty cool. Lots of tube smashing. Otis misses a moonsault. I was actually impressed as fuck that Otis did a moonsault off the chains. Not the platform, but the chains. Very surprised by that. Is nuts. Bev knocks the ref out accidentally. Bev gets the winning count. The crowd's chanting 4, 5, 6. Then he gets a 2 count once Shiny Shoes slides in. See the beginning Cody Manhorn. Atticus then runs in and attacks Bev. This made no fucking sense because immediately I'm saying, okay, so you're gonna face your brother instead. And it felt like Atticus just looked so dumb here because he lacked all foresight. And I don't want to give the credit of being like, oh, his hatred for Bobby blinded him, because it's a very obvious thing what you're doing. If you're going to make one guy not win, you're going to make the other guy fucking win, right? Shiny Shoes winds up. This was very like Rick Knox and the Young Bucks and Reseda, which was funny. But, Atticus is telling Shiny Shoes to count or whatever. Shiny Shoes takes out Atticus, then he takes out Otis. He's telling Beverly, get the fucking count. Beverly then gets a 2 count when Atticus pulls Shiny Shoes out of the ring. He knocks him out. He puts skewers in Beverly's head, and then Otis hits Bev with a chair shot, which was gnarly, dude, because he hit him right on the skewers. I was like, oh my God, they went inside of his brain. But they didn't, thankfully. They wake up the other ref, 1, 2, 3. And then Atticus starts celebrating with Otis, and Bobby Banks is like the new number 1 contender. And then, Otis picks up Atticus's title, and Atticus is looking there like dumbfounded, like, how fucking could you, dude? Like, what? And I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, what did you think? He's just going to lay down for you? Like, you're going to finger poke this boy? Like, get the fuck out. And,
that would be such a great spot, though, like in a death match promotion, like the most pussiest match possible. Like with no violence, just a finger poke of doom. That pissed everybody off.
There was a guy, Adam Priest, and he talked about it. It was at the last year's King of the Death match.
He's good.
He was the Deadlock National Champion just now for a while. But he came out. He was like, all right, guys, first off, I'm not doing glass. He was like, no fucking way. He was like, if someone brings out glass, the way he started it was he laid down for or invite. He's like, I don't want to do a goddamn death match, man. Just get the 1, 2, 3. I'm going to get paid and go home. He's like, I don't know why you guys don't do this more often. But it was really funny.
That's awesome. But yeah, like I said, I was wondering if there was some reason why he reacted that way after he helped him, but it appears there wasn't. From the side of it.
No, it just felt so short-sighted. Like, what did you think was going to happen, dude?
I think he had a satanic spell cast on him afterwards.
The rev was in the back. That's right.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's what really happened. That hasn't been explained, but we'll tune in at 69 and see if they pull it out.
Oh my God, the next fall is 69.
Yep.
Wow.
Exactly. That's going to be a big show. Yeah, big show for this promotion.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got to say, this was an experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this. It means a lot.
Like I said, I wasn't in the best state of mind myself. I admit that, but there was fun to be had with this. There was crazy stuff that happened. I think I even liked the redacted match a little better than you, after all. So it was good. Like, it was a crazy ass show. If you're a fan of this, I think you had to be like, man, this show has this show rules.
This was my favorite show of the week out of the 3 that we reviewed. By far, this was my favorite. Like, I'm never gonna go back and watch Tribal Combat or Orange Cassidy or like FTR versus the Death Riders. I will be watching Hoodfoot versus Nathan Mowry again for sure.
You heard it here first, people. The Killbilly gets our stamp of approval on Wrestle Update. But yeah, that was really cool. I'm glad we watched it, and I hope everybody out there enjoyed it. Check it out on independentwrestling.tv. Support Dylan Hales. He is a good guy. His family's deep into wrestling too, so doing big things up there, or down there technically for me, but whatever. Definitely check it out. And yeah, you have anything else to say as we close out another week of Wrestle Update?
No. Excited for whatever's next. What's next?
Yeah, what is next? We don't really have any big shows in the next week or so. So we'll figure it out. I have an idea that will be explained off the air if you don't kill me first before I do it, which would be reasonable when I tell you what happened. But that is for a later date. First of all, I want to thank everybody for listening, joining us for 2025. Once again, the streaming era is here. And we covered it here, including, of course, independentwrestling.tv. Again, check that out. Check out some ICW No Holds Barred. Go to a show. It seemed like it was a vibe. I mean, there was a lot of different variety of people in the crowd. It felt like a place you want to be, like a true indie concert vibe. So shout out to all that. Thank you guys for listening. You know I love you. And until next time, this has been your Wrestle Update.